Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is now 6 p.m. We'll begin in a few moments. So if you could please start moving to your seats, we'll begin in a few moments. Sometimes a video will come on the laptop. All right. Let's begin. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the City of Boynton Beach City Commission meeting. Today is Monday, September 23rd, 2024. The time is now 6:02 p.m., and this meeting is called to order. Before we proceed with the roll call, I just want to remind everybody of our rules of civility and decorum. Public comments must be addressed to the board as a whole through the chair and not interrupt any other speakers. Personal attacks, insults are strictly prohibited. Demonstrations, disruptive behaviors are strictly prohibited. You will be provided a warning, and should you violate these rules, you may be asked to leave these chambers. Let's proceed now to our roll call. Maylee, if you could begin.
Mayor Penserga.
Here.
Vice Mayor Kelly.
Here.
Commissioner Cruz.
Here.
Commissioner Hay.
Here.
Commissioner Turkin.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Our invocation for this evening will be led by Pastor Bryce Hudson from Christ Fellowship Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag led by Commissioner Woodrow Hay. Let's all stand for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Let's bow our heads. Well, Father, we come before you grateful for a day that you have brought life. Father, tonight we ask that you would just be with this council, that their words, their desires, Father, their decisions would be of you. And Father, as we celebrate some great milestones of those in this community, we are grateful for the life, for the longevity, for the history that you have brought to this place, to Boynton Beach. Father, we in this season especially ask that you would bring peace and civility, Father, that you would help us to see your creation above our own desires. And so, Father, as we move forward with this meeting, we just pray that you would be honored by the words and the actions of those who are in this space, Father, no matter their desires, no matter their heart, no matter their convictions, that they would desire to put you above all else. Father, thank you for times like this. In your holy and awesome name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Bryce, thank you. Commissioner Hay, thank you, both of you. Let's move on now to the agenda approval, additions, deletions, and corrections to the agenda. I have no requests for this evening, but let's go around the dais. Let's begin with Commissioner Turkin, if you have any requests. No? Commissioner Hay, any requests for additions, deletions, or corrections?
No.
Vice Mayor?
No, thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. And Commissioner
Mayor.
Cruz? All right, with that, I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Turkin and a second from Commissioner Hay. All those in favor of the motion?
I apologize. I do have a request for this meeting to add community support funds, and I've already worked with the city clerk to make that happen.
Excellent. So which area is that? Administrative? We'll make that 5B. So the request here is 5B, community support funds requested by Commissioner Cruz.
Thank you.
All right, let's start. Commissioner Turkin, do you want to proceed with the motion?
Yes,
All right, and the.
yes,
and the
motion to
second?
approve with the amendment for
amendment.
community support funds.
All right, excellent.
Second.
All right, we've got our second from Commissioner Hay. All those in favor of the motion to amend the agenda as discussed, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The agenda is approved. Now we're going to move on to 2A, informational items of members of the City Commission. And let's begin on my right this time, Commissioner Cruz. Informational items.
We'll do disclosures later, right?
For public hearing items, we can do the, I'm sorry, Council, what was that?
At the time of, right?
There's only one that needs, and we'll do that
At the
at the time of the item.
Perfect.
Yes.
Only one thing, I do want to say for disclosures that I did speak to the nonprofits and entities with regard to the community support funds.
Okay, all right,
thank you.
thank you so much. Vice Mayor, any informational items?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to disclose that I have spoken with Neil Schiller and a representative from Red Speed with regard to 10C. And that's my disclosures. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Hay.
No disclosures, but I do want to thank the city of Boynton Beach for their proclamation to St. John Missionary Baptist Church for their 116th church anniversary this past Sunday. So thank you very much.
All right, Commissioner Turkin.
For disclosures, we're going to get to informational items, correct?
This is
Okay,
informational items.
perfect. So for disclosures, I did speak with Neil Schiller, and I did receive a correspondence from Red Speed. I received an email correspondence from Stephen Abrams. I believe he represents another vendor, Ultimate, and then Hassan Dabaha, who represents, let's see here, Genoptic. I received email communications from all those individuals. And then I just wanted to thank city staff, city attorney, deputy city attorney, Barbara, Chelsea, for joining me this afternoon to wish Sushi Simon a huge congratulations for winning the #1 sushi restaurant, not just in Palm Beach County, but the whole Treasure Coast. And that is a huge accomplishment. This is a local Boynton Beach business, that works day in and day out, that restaurant. And, there was a vote and went late into the night. They won 58% of the vote. So I just want to give them a huge round of applause and kudos, and thank you guys for coming out. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. We're going to move on to announcements, community and special events and presentations. The very first item, 3A, is a proclamation for the 76th anniversary of Boynton Beach Kiwanis. I'm going to read this proclamation and present this to Thomas Remicchio, commemorating September 2024 as the 76th anniversary of Boynton Beach Kiwanis. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Kiwanis is a global organization of volunteers dedicated to improving the world one child and one community at a time, the Kiwanis motto is serving the children of the world. And whereas the Boynton Beach Kiwanis has been serving the needs of underprivileged children since 1948, the Boynton Beach Kiwanis is proud of its current service projects. 2, Reading Oasis at our elementary schools, Poinciana Elementary and Rolling Green Elementary. Here, children can take a book, read it, and take it home forever. Boynton Kiwanis partners with Scholastic Books so that it is at no cost to the children. And whereas Boynton Kiwanis is proud of our service projects with the city of Boynton Beach, in 2020 and 2021, Kiwanis funded swimming lessons for the children at the Denton Pool. Drowning is the #1 preventable cause of death for children 5 and under. We financially support Shop with the Cops annually and assist in serving hot dogs and the packaging of the toys. Each month, we pack and sort donated food with Cross Ministries to be distributed to food pantries throughout our community. And whereas Kiwanis has leadership development/service programs in every level of our school system, in our elementary school, we have K-Kids. This is the beginning of teaching our youth about community service. In middle school, we have Builders Club. In high school, we have Key Club, which in Florida is the largest student-led service club in the world. In Florida, we have 22,000 high schoolers serving our communities, and whereas Boynton Kiwanis meets every Tuesday at Cracker Barrel And now, therefore, I, Ty Pinserga, Mayor of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, do hereby commemorate and honor September 2024 as the 76th anniversary of Boynton Beach, Kiwanis. So I'd like to ask Mr. Amicho to accept the proclamation and say a few words about the work that your organization is doing. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you so much for recognizing the Boynton Beach Kiwanis' 76th anniversary. I just would like to recognize a couple of our members who are here today. Mark Tolhurst, the past president, is here. Mark, if you put your hand up. Joe Warren, 38-year member. Both of these guys, Joe and Mark, are the two liaisons to our two key clubs. One is at Boynton High School and the other one is at Canyon High School. So there are two representatives for there. I handle the two elementary schools. I handle Rolling Green and Poinciana. And one of the things that we found during COVID, that we were helping with books and helping with all the, the most common things that Kiwanis clubs do for schools to help them. But one of the things that the principal came to us and said, Tom, one of the things we have a problem with is we have this little pantry, because sometimes the girls or boys come to school and they may not have the appropriate underwear or socks. So if Kiwanis could help fund and we can keep these items kind of on the QT, and then when appropriate, we could have those items to distribute. So we're doing that as well with Poinciana and with Rolling Green elementaries as well. So there's a lot of needs that are here in the community. Our work with packing the food. And if there's anything we can do to help with anything that has to do with children, underserved children, we want to step in and help. We help with immunizations. We partner with the Palm Beach County Health Department so school-age children can get the proper immunizations before they go to school. So we have a Shots by 2 program that we do in partnership with the health department. So if you're interested in Kiwanis, we would love to invite you to come to the Cracker Barrel each Tuesday. And I thank you again for recognizing Kiwanis for their 76 years of service to the city of Boynton Beach. Thank you so much to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move on to the next announcement, I just want to take a moment of personal privilege and acknowledge the 80th birthday of one of my colleagues, Commissioner Hay. I want to wish you a happy belated birthday. It was this Friday. Happy birthday. And I also heard that coming up very soon is your 59th wedding anniversary with his wife, Mildred. So congratulations, and to many more years.
It only took me 80 years to look this good. Thank you. Thank you.
Happy birthday. Our next announcement is by the Boynton Women's Club board members, Christy Hines. I apologize if I mispronounced your last name. I think it's Christy Hines. And Barbara Ehrlichman of the 100th birthday celebration of the Addison Meisner Designed Historic Women's Club. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. I'm actually Second Vice President Deborah Tucker because Christy was not able to attend, so I'm here in her place. The Boynton Women's Club has been serving the community for more than 114 years. It served as the city's first public library, and the members provided library services until 1961. The Boynton Women's Club members have played a significant role in the social and cultural development of Boynton Beach since 1908, granting scholarships to Boynton area high school students who were entering college or trade school, as well as the Marie Shepherd Mature Woman Scholarship for students who are re-entering the workforce. Application deadlines are November 1st, if anybody knows anyone. We also support local organizations such as Head Start, Girl Scouts, and Forgotten Soldiers, plus local charities such as Shop with a Cop and other charities as requested. We continue to be a vital, thriving club and welcome new members. We continue to meet in our beloved clubhouse and thank its owner, the City of Boynton Beach, for maintaining it in good working order. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I also brought brochures, and I will leave them with Kelly so she can distribute them later.
Good evening, Commissioners and the Mayor. My name is Barbara Ehrlichman, and I'm the third Vice President, Communications of the Boynton Women's Club. On behalf of the members of the Boynton Women's Club, our thanks to the City of Boynton Beach for its ownership and continued stewardship of the historic Women's Club of Boynton Beach, formerly known as the Boynton Women's Club. The historic Women's Club is the only Meisner-designed building in Palm Beach County that's open to the public. Since its opening in 1925, the clubhouse has served as a meeting place for many community organizations and churches. And next March the 22nd, the Boynton's Women's Club is hosting a birthday bash to celebrate the building's 100th birthday. In the afternoon, the public will be invited to tour the building and see examples of Meisner's design genius. There will be representatives from local organizations, experts who will talk about the city's history, as well as local artists. At 6 o'clock, we're inviting the mayor and commissioners to introduce themselves to members of the community. Then from 7 o'clock to 9:30, we go into party mode. The clubhouse will be transformed into a speakeasy, and for $20, guests will have the chance to party like it's 1935. There'll be favorite foods and drinks of the 1920s, and people can dance the night away to jazz music of the era. For the past 100 years, the historic Women's Club has been and continues to be a beloved site for weddings, baby showers, wakes, reunions, and all sorts of galas. It is an invaluable asset to the community. We ask the mayor and the commissioners for their support for this much-deserved celebration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barbara, and to Deborah and to the entire board.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to the next portion of the agenda, which is public audience. This is for anything on consent or anything not on the agenda. All speakers have 3 minutes per person, and same rules applies as always. This is not a Q&A, but we are taking notes.
Mayor, my apologies. I forgot to add an item. There was, as everyone knows, there's a possibility of legalized recreational marijuana coming, and we wanted to add a discussion item as far as whether or not later on in the future, whether or not the commission would like to allow dispensaries or not. And I think the city attorney can speak to the legality of that. As long as we make a decision prior to that passage, we'll be able to be grandfathered in.
Okay, so I guess the immediate question I have is, what is the time sensitivity? Is this something that we can put on a future agenda item for a follow-up meeting?
For clarification, if we regulate not the medicinal use, but whether we want to regulate the ability to sell recreationally within the city, if we pass an ordinance prior to it going into effect, assuming it passes in November, so I'm anticipating it'll actually go January 1.
Okay.
Then in order to get the state preemption for already having a law on the books, we'd have to get it on the books before January 1. So I'm going to need direction, if that's something the city is interested in, to get that done prior to a possible law going into effect.
Is this a conversation that other cities are having as well?
Yes, I'm actually, I went to a luncheon with other women municipal lawyers in the county, and it was one of the issues we came up. So I know Coconut Creek just did it. Wellington has one. So it is something that everyone is scrambling to get done. So I just wanted to bring to your attention that if it's something we're going to do, we need to do it now.
All right, so it sounds like we still have a window. So I would recommend that we put that in a future agenda item to be
I'd like
discussed
to
next
add
meeting.
it to October 1, if that's possible.
That's okay with me.
And then
Are there
direction,
objections?
and that'll give me time to draft an ordinance and get the 2 readings in.
All right.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
yeah, no objection to a future meeting discussion.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. So again, public audience, you know the drill. Let me switch to the timer. Give me one moment. State your name for the record and begin when you're ready.
Sure. Hi, everybody. David Merker. I'm sorry those women left because they missed a part of their history. What I mean by that is the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. In Congress, it was passed June 4th, 1919, and for women, it was August 26, 1920. What they represent is the direction that this country hopefully will keep going forward. It's called equality for all. And I think that's something that should be announced every year, these dates and what it represents for all the people in this country.
Thank you. The next speaker, state your name for the record and begin when you're ready.
Susan Oyer, Boynton Beach. First of all, I want to say thank you to our wonderful utilities department who've been very helpful to me in the last week, and Patrick Hart as well, who's been incredibly helpful. I have two things to talk about. First of all is, it appears Florida Public Utilities is coming into my neighborhood at the moment, trying to put in new gas lines, which very, very few people use gas anymore, especially after the fire across the street from me about a year ago. I want to know exactly how many people are actually using gas and why they aren't just coming and ripping out these gas pipes, because we don't want them. They're dangerous, especially the rotting ones in our backyards that could blow up, and we do not want them. Almost no one uses gas. What do we have to do to get rid of these pipes and tell Florida Public Utilities no? AT&T ripped up our backyards about 2 years ago. Now FPU wants to come in and rip up our yards, and we're already slated next year to have FP&L come in and underground our wires. How many more times do our yards have to be ripped up? This is wrong, and just say no, especially if little to no people are actually using these gas in their houses. My bigger issue tonight, and I want to say thank you to Commissioners Turkin and Cruz who've listened to this. Surprise, I have septic tanks in my yard. Turns out my neighborhood does. So there's hundreds of houses with 2 septic tanks in them, one for the washing machine out in the garage and one for the house. Most of the houses, if not all of them, got transferred over to city pipes at some point in the 60s. My house was built in 57, but apparently not all the ones for the washing machines got switched over, including mine. I am now facing an almost $12,000 bill. If I'm lucky, it's $12,000. And I want to know what grants or what is available to me, because I pay a whole lot of taxes, and this was not something that's on my surveys. Apparently, the city has no records of anything before 84 to 86 in talking to multiple department people. And I think you now have hundreds of homes in Forest Park, Seacrest Estates, Bowers Park, and the north end of town that all have septic and need to be switched over. That is a huge infrastructure cost coming your direction. And how are you going to help the residents? And I'm not looking forward to a $12,000 bill, and I don't think it's correct, especially if it was not on the surveys, because the city does not have any records from anything before 84 to 86. So I was not aware when I bought my house. No one apparently prior to that was aware, except the original owners from the 50s, early 60s. So please let me know how I can get some assistance, financial assistance in this, because I think I more than give enough money back to this city. It's time to send some back my direction and be thinking about how you're going to approach the several thousand homes potentially that have this problem in this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment speaker.
Cindy Falco Di Corrado. I called a couple of weeks ago in regards to this back alleyway which runs from Seacrest past where I live off of Northwest First Avenue. Behind there's grass is about 5-6 feet high. I have had to complain about it every time that it needs to get done. It's not my job to make sure that the city does their job by keeping that alleyway clean. I do want to also address another situation. I'm not calling anybody out particularly, but on the workmanship that's been done in the seat of a mayor. It has been the most appalling, abusive situation ever with the mayor that we have sitting in the seat today. I'm letting it be known that it has been brutal. I have never come to meetings and been so dishonored, disrespected, beat up, and abused, especially by this police officer that's right here today. It's unfathomable for me to see this officer right here that gives me PTSD, I guess that's what they call it, when all of you witnessed him attacking me 3 times. And I don't understand why this man is still sitting in this room right here today. It's wrong. And again, you will be hearing the court, you will be getting the paperwork, and I want you to know it's not forgotten. And the abuses in the 3 months that I had to go through therapy for my arm that he hurt and twisted up my back, and for everything that was done. This is unbelievable that we have a system here with people who are supposed to represent people, and you come to a meeting and you get attacked. It is wrong on every level. When you're here to do a job to protect the people, not abuse them, Mr. Mayor, you are the worst mayor we ever had. Thank you.
All right, next public comment speaker. Is there anyone else in the chambers? Now's the time to approach the podium. All right, seeing no one else in the chambers, we're going to go to those online. Let me take a look, and I see no one waiting online. With that, public audience is now closed. We're going to move on to section 5 of the agenda, administrative. Let me open up the list. So under administrative, we have several advisory board appointments or reappointments, and where is that? All right, under the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, there is one applicant, London Nelson, seeking a second term as the citizen engaged as real estate professional in affordable housing. That role goes to Vice Mayor Kelly, if you would like to make an
Yes, it's you, Mayor.
citizen engaged as real estate professional in affordable housing. That category is,
Even though you're the next selection, it skips you and goes to me?
the way it was written.
How is
There's
that?
no applicant for the first category, so I think the mayor is correct. I think it goes to
So it's
you.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to make a nomination.
No, it's
but,
fine, I just-
The way it's written, it suggests that it's yours.
Okay. Then I will nominate London Nelson to serve their second term as a citizen engaged as a real estate professional.
All right, any opposition, any objections to that? Congratulations, Linda Nelson, you have been appointed. To the Advisory Art Board, the Art Advisory Board, there are no applicants. Building Board of Adjustments and Appeals, there's no applicants. Likewise with Youth and Education Advisory Board, the Employees Pension Plan Board of Trustees, Historic Resources and Preservation Board. However, now we get to the Library Board, and there are many applicants. And the first one here is my nomination, and this is to replace George Feldman, whose second term has expired. I'd like to nominate Christine Lang to the position. Any objections to my nomination? All right, before we proceed, we have another vacant position here with Vice Mayor Kelly.
I'm sorry, Mayor. The clerk has indicated that typically there's a second with regard to those nominations, and in the last 2, there wasn't an actual second to the nomination. So if we could just redo those.
Yeah, we can do that. Let's make a formal motion. Let's do that. The very first one, Vice Mayor for London.
To approve.
Second.
Okay. All right, it was her motion, but
It's fine.
it's all good. Is that all right with you?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
All right, all those in favor of appointing London Nelson as our citizen engaged as a real estate professional in affordable housing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes unanimously. We're going to go back to the Library Board. My nomination was Christine Lang. This is for the regular position on the Library Advisory Board. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second from Commissioner Turkin. All those in favor of the motion for Christine Lang, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes unanimously. Vice Mayor, your turn.
Thank you. I move to appoint Veronica and a Pete, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, to the regular position for the education, or the library board.
All right, is there a second to this? Was that you, Commissioner Cruz? All right, all those in favor of the nomination of Veronica and Pete to the Library Advisory Board, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, the next one for an alternate role goes to Commissioner Cruz.
I'll move to appoint Donna Mitchell.
Donna was that a second from Commissioner Turkin? All those in favor of appointing Donna Mitchell to the Library Advisory Board, say aye.
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 Aye. All right, motion passes unanimously. And the last one goes to Commissioner Hay for the alternate position.
I nominate Verna Henry.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for Verna Henry. All those in favor of the nomination say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. There are no applicants for the Recreation and Parks Board and the Senior Advisory Board. This nomination goes to you, Commissioner Hay, for the regular position. It is currently vacant, and there is one applicant, Rebecca Shelton.
Rebecca Shelton, on nomination.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Hay and a second from Commissioner Turkin. All those in favor of the motion to appoint Rebecca Shelton to the Senior Advisory Board say aye. Aye. All right, motion passes unanimously. That completes item 5A. We did add item 5B, which is Commissioner Cruz's request for community support fund disbursements.
City clerk has the list. Do I have to read it? Okay. It wasn't the Crowbars, it was for the Little League. Yeah, okay. $700 for the Little League 11U travel team, $700 for the Little League 12U travel team, which adds up to $1,400 total for Little League, $1,200 to the Balanced Women nonprofit, $500 to the Caring Neighbors nonprofit, $500 to the American Legion Post 164, and $400 to the Heart of Boynton Association.
All right. Was that all of it? Okay, all right.
That's my motion.
Sounds good. Is there a second to her request?
Second.
We have a second from Vice Mayor Kelly. All those in favor of approving the aforementioned items say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We're going to move on to consent agenda. Are there any items under consent that my colleagues would like to pull?
Yes,
Go ahead, Commissioner Hay.
I'd like to pull item E.
Is this the renewal of insurance policies?
Yes, that's the.
I'm sorry, that's
use?
F. I'm sorry.
R24-210.
The facility
Facility use.
use.
No.
No.
It's the facility use agreement.
Facility use agreement.
So this- Right,
So in my copy, it's the facility use agreement for entities
Right.
desiring, okay, that one.
that's the one.
All right, so that's E. Commissioner Hay?
Also, K, resolution R24-216.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, any other requests from my colleagues? All right, hearing no other requests, may I have a motion to approve the remainder of
Motion
consent
to
agenda?
approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Turkin, a second from Vice Mayor Kelly. All those in favor of approving the remainder of consent agenda say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We're now going to proceed to the pulled items in the order. Item 6E, proposed resolution number R24-210, approving a template facility use agreement for entities desiring to use city spaces for meetings, programs, and/or events. Who would like to introduce this item?
What I'm looking
That's going to
for-
be,
What I'm looking for is,
ahead.
in layman's term, you don't have to go into a lot of detail, but I want to make sure that the audience and the public understand this and how to use it and what it means and what's been opened up to them. So that's where I'm coming from. So just make it clear.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioner Kelly Armstead, Division Director, Arts and Culture. The facility agreement is in regards to those entities that desire to use our facility, typically like free of charge, such as the Women's Boynton Club, who uses Historic Women's Center for their meetings. That's the agreement. It is at no cost to them. So that's what the facility agreement is for. So it's just a template.
Okay. At no cost. That's
It's at no cost. We do have some that do pay, like the young singers. They do rent our facility, and they pay $7,000 throughout the entire year. But we do have others that are at no cost, like the garden club for women. So
I've just been getting a lot of questions about that. That's why I wanted you to sort of say a few words about it.
absolutely, and all of our agreements go through the city attorney. And it's just a template. And again, we do get some funding depending upon the organization, but there are others who cannot afford. And so we're working with them.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Kelly.
Any other questions on this item or comments?
Motion to approve R 24-210.
Second.
All right, I'm not sure who made the second first. Commissioner Cruz made the second. All those in favor of the motion to approve item 6E, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone object? Motion passes unanimously. That brings us to item 6K, proposed resolution number R24-216, approving the conditional settlement and release in the amount of $100,000 for the resolution of Catherine Matos v. City of Boynton Beach, EEOC charge number 510-2024, and related claims. Okay,
I have a
Commissioner.
few questions about this particular one. It sort of grieves me that we're being sued left and right here. This particular one, I don't recall when we voted on this amount. Normally, my experience has been that we have a closed door session, and I haven't seen any proof that these charges are real. How do we come up with this $100,000? And when we've had no closed door session on determining that amount. So where did that amount come from? And I just need some answers here.
Sure, no problem. There was, Ms. Matos made an EEOC charge based upon things that were said about her by our former HR manager and the disclosure of private health information, which is protected. She alleged an ADA violation. We are not in active litigation. She's made an EEOC charge. So active litigation is defined as when she files a complaint in circuit court. EEOC is just seeking a right to sue, so we would not be entitled to have a closed-door session.
Have we gotten the OIG results?
We have not. But
How can we just come up with an amount to just, how am I assured that she won't just go away? My understanding of this, we pay $100,000, and then what? Does she go
well,
away
she's
and
signed-
never come back?
Correct.
Or does she still sue us?
no, she cannot sue us because what you're also approving is a complete and total release of all potential future claims, this current claim against all city officials in their official capacity, current and former, and she is releasing of all possible claims coming forward in the future.
I understand all that, but what I hear and what I see is that we've come up with an amount, $100,000 to pay her, which I had no say-so in, okay? I don't remember having that conversation with anybody here.
No, sir, this
So
is.
I'm wondering,
This is
why
the,
not $100,000? Why not $50,000?
so a litigation evaluation was done because Ms. Matos was an employee here that I had to work with in order to remove any appearance of impropriety. Again, we asked an outside lawyer to represent us with regard to responding to the EEOC charge. There was an evaluation of what these claims typically cost, and given what she is alleging the damages are, and based upon past possible wages, future wages, and reputational damages, this was an amount that is far below what she requested, that we felt was fair and favorable, and also taking into consideration what it would cost us to continue to litigate this if she was able to move forward in circuit court. So it is based on that. And this is your opportunity to approve or reject the settlement.
I'm going to reject it simply because I didn't have input to it. I should have had a say-so in it, just like you explained it just then. We could have talked about this in a closed-door session, so I knew what was going on. But just to be hit with this, with no proof of from OIG, I cannot support this.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Hay. Anybody else want to weigh in on this matter before I do?
Yeah, so.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I got a couple questions. So this complaint, and just chime in if I'm wrong, so this complaint was brought forward because there was a HIPAA violation.
We're not,
Or EOC.
we are not
You
subject to
mentioned-
HIPAA,
Okay,
but you had an HR manager who allegedly had private health information about a health condition
Mm-hmm.
of an employee and disclosed that to the media.
Mm-hmm.
That is a problem.
and.
Subjects us to liability.
Is this in reference to the email that was almost read out loud
And also it was
and
forwarded.
sent out to multiple
Correct.
individuals of this dais?
That is correct.
Yeah, so I think that was, you should never talk about, the reason we're here, I understand your frustration. I would have liked a conversation before. I think this is going to turn into a very large lawsuit if the things are true. And what we've noticed before is, facts, hearsay. There's been a lot of hearsay thrown around, and there was 3 investigations launched based on sheer hearsay, right? Where the facts are, if there is a medical condition and that was disclosed to the media and under other individuals, that is a HIPAA violation, right? It's a charge against EOC. This individual could probably get a lot more. And I think, I don't know. I don't want to cost the city more than what we need. And if there was an outside counsel that recommended and did an analysis, and this is where we're at, that's great. I think in the future, that should be something discussed, whether it's in a shade meeting or not. I understand that the law is different for that, but I think one-on-one, before this gets brought to us, I think that's important. And so, and I understand the art of negotiating. I get that. I understand. And, at the end of the day, I know it's, staff's executive responsibility to make sure that we mitigate any litigation and mitigate any costs, unnecessary costs to the city.
Sure. I apologize for that, Commissioners. I'll take personal responsibility for not setting up private meetings with you. I promise and assure you that will not happen again.
That's all well and good, but he mentioned the word "if" these allegations are true. We don't know that yet, okay?
And
so I cannot see how, unless there's some scale that you go by, if it's this level of a event, you pay this amount and that amount. No, something doesn't fit here to me, and I need more time. I need more to talk about this thing, because where do we go from here? How many others do we have in the hopper with this type of stuff? And going forth, we need to talk about these things. We need to discuss them. Now, if you don't want to have a closed door session, find some other means. But I knew nothing about this until I read it here, and that's unacceptable to me.
And this was on the workshop too.
When it came up, I asked for private meetings.
Right.
Because of the ongoing claim. I can't sit here and tell you all of the details involved.
No,
And all of the
understood.
claims for damages. All I can tell you is they are pretty extreme.
Yeah, and so if they are true, then I think we're looking at something greater than, I'm indifferent, I'm either way. My responsibility up here is to make sure that I'm fiscally responsible with taxpayer dollars. And
Absolutely.
the claim I'm assuming that was made was, from what I understand, pretty egregious. And if that indeed, this would be damaging to an individual's reputation, and that could prevent them from
Working in the future.
from working.
Guys, if we can take this kind of
Maybe we
conversation
table it?
individually, if we could. Because
Unfortunately-
we're
table
throwing
this
a lot
on?
of opinions out there, and I think that we're not serving the best interest of the city by providing opinions per se, and I think it's probably better to have those individual discussions with the city attorney.
My only concern is the time sensitivity of this, that
I hope
Say we
this
ta-
is
I
not
say
the
we
way we
ta-
operate
just
in the
table-
future.
Table this item.
Okay,
Just have a discussion.
Motion to table.
second.
Let me just say a few words. I echo some of the sentiments that's already been mentioned by Commissioner Hay. I do have a question for council, and I'll just pose it now, but we'll have that discussion in detail later. In my time, in my role in the city, I know we've had previous EEOC claims, and we've had closed-door sessions to discuss the settlement amount or whether or not we need to move forward. I know those conversations were had. I was in those rooms with Chief Latasha Clemens at that time. So I just want to understand what the nuances is.
Was that in litigation? There's a difference between an EEOC charge. You can have an EEOC charge and a complaint. If there is only an EEOC charge, that is not active litigation, which the Sunshine Law does not allow for a closed-door session.
Okay. All right. Thank you. My position remains the same. Are there any further comments from my colleagues? We have a motion before us to table this item. Can we be more specific with the date?
It has to go by October 1 or the whole thing blows up and they are going to file suit. And I can tell you our litigation fees will be well in advance of $100,000.
All right.
October 1's good for me.
All right. You continue with the second from Commissioner Hay?
Yes.
All right. All those in favor of the motion to table this item to the October 1st meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those oppose?
No.
All right. Motion passes 4-1 with Vice Mayor Kelly dissenting. All right. We're going to move on to the next portion of the agenda, which is consent bids and purchases over $100,000. Are there any items under this section that my colleagues would like to pull? Take a look at it. Take a moment to look at it. Any request? If there's none, may I have a motion to approve the remainder of consent bids and purchases?
Second.
We have, was that a comment, Commissioner? You have a second? All right. I heard the motion from Commissioner Hay and a second from Commissioner Turkin. All those in favor of approving consent bids and purchases over $100K in its totality, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. We're now moving on to public hearing. Public hearing, the very first item here is 8A. This is proposed resolution number R24-221. This is adopting the final millage rate for the general fund for fiscal year 24-25. There's another resolution related to it, proposed resolution number 24-222, adopt the final budget for the general fund and all other funds for fiscal year 24-25. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues to staff? All right, so it is a public hearing, so if you would like to speak on this item, now is the time to approach the podium. So we have two resolutions before us. Comments are restricted to just these two items. Again, this is adopting the final millage rate and the final budget for the general fund and all other funds for fiscal year 24-25. Let me switch to the timer. Begin when you're ready.
Hi, Susan Oyer, Boynton Beach. Once again, I'm going to say this is an excessively large budget. When you look at the total, we are over $300 million. That is a third of $1 billion. And this is about 5 years after it was $250 million. So you've gone up approximately $100 million in 5-6 years. And I want to know why. I really think the idea to have a line item veto is worth exploring. Starting with a zero budget is worth exploring. And now I'm noting that there's no money in there for septic tank removal and helping people put their whatever septic tank problems onto city lines, which you guys really need to be looking at that, because my house is probably one of the first, and it's certainly not going to be the last. But I would invite you to look closer at this and find ways to cut this, because I think you need to be prepared for any disasters, any emergencies. And do you really have that money sitting around? And I don't think you do. And I think going up $100 million in 5 to 6 years is an outrageous increase in budget. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next speaker.
Alca Di Corrado, I concur with what Susan said, and taxes are illegal. I'm just tired of being raped for the monies that are spent so foolishly. There's a budget that you had even prior, and we're still getting assessments on things, which is a tax. When is it going to stop? Where's taxation without representation? It's just getting out of control. And I think that you guys really, even representatives of We the People up there, you need to think about that. I mean, people are paying over $6,000 just in taxes alone for their houses. Then with the insurance going up, and now with all these rates. I mean, the government is We the People. It's our money. It's our money. I don't know if you realize that when they say, you know, money here, get money from, you're getting it from us. And we're tired of paying these exuberant prices. Please do better. Thank you.
All right, anybody else in the audience pertaining to these two resolutions? Now's the time to approach the podium. Seeing no one else, let's go look online. I see no one online. With that, public comments on this item is now closed. Are there any questions from my colleagues' comments? Let's begin with a motion to approve the very first resolution. This is R24-22.
Mayor, I'm
Yes.
sorry, I just would like to make sure we read the entire item in full.
Let's do that. Maylee,
before
did you
we-
want to do that?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Resolution. Okay. Just,
The intro, is that what you want?
it's proposed resolution R24-221, adopt the final millage rate for the general fund for fiscal year 2024-2025. You can go on that vote, and then I'll read the next one.
Motion to approve.
All right, I've already read that, but that's fine.
I just want to make sure.
Okay, sounds good. We have a motion from
Second?
Vice Mayor and a second from Commissioner Cruz. All those in favor of approving this resolution R24-221, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Let's do that, okay? We're going to move on to proposed resolution number R24-222. Again, this is adopt the final budget for the general fund and all other funds for fiscal year 2024 and 2025. May I have a motion on that?
Motion approved.
We have a motion from
Second.
Commissioner Hay and a second from Commissioner Turkin. All those in favor of the motion to approve the aforementioned resolution, say aye.
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 Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. That concludes item 8A. We're moving on to item 8B, proposed resolution number R24-224. This is to ratify resolution number R24-192, adopted on September 3rd, 2024, for the fire assessment fee of $145 for fiscal year 2024-2025. Were there any further details that should be read into the record? Just want to make sure we covered this one, because there's two of them. Was that sufficient? I just want to make sure. Yeah.
That's good.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right, anything from my colleagues? Questions for staff? Nope. So if you'd like to speak specifically on this item, now's the time to approach the podium.
Cindy Falco Di Corrado, I did put a FOIA in. I would like to know really for this fire assessment, how many actual fires do they put out a year for this assessment of extra funds? That's, you know, they have a budget. It seems like it's more medical than it is fire, and there needs to be something to be worked out with that so that we're not being billed for fires and for all this equipment for fires when we really don't have that many fires. We have more medical use of the fire department than fires. And as when I get the numbers and when I get it directly, I will address it again to let you know how many actual fires we have in this community in a year for us to be assessed, each homeowner, $145 more dollars than what they already get, which should have been sunshined out, and unfortunately, it stays in, and then it gets added $25 more dollars, which is, again, highway robbery. It's a tax. We, the people, shouldn't be paying it. Again, I think with all the toys that the fire department have, they need to cut back on that, and their $1 million exercise room they have over here, state of the art. I don't know if you've seen it. You need to start paying attention to where these dollars go and how they're being spent, and go actually physically look at what they're buying and what they're saying they need stuff for that they don't need. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next speaker.
Susan Oyer, Boynton Beach. I'll once again go on the record as saying I think if the money isn't the issue, there is an exemption form that can be filled out, but I'm all for this. I mean, I don't like paying extra taxes either. You know, please, again, give me some money back for my septic tank problem. But, you know, I do see that there's value in this. Seconds, as Commissioner Hayes said, seconds matter. And it matters that we're able to get our fire and our paramedics and our rescue people where they need to be, when they need to be there to deal with whatever emergency we have. So while I too do not like paying extra taxes, this is definitely something that I can see the benefit in the result, and I think it's valid and worthy. Whereas, the budget just kind of flies around in our face and we don't see where that actually goes. This is something we actually see, and we can touch it and feel it, whether we're looking at the fire people or we're looking at the vehicles or, the boats, because yes, we all know that we live right next to the ocean and the intracoastal, and there's a lot of accidents that happen. And so this equipment does get put to use. And yes, I do have elderly relatives who've had to call 911 and be taken out in ambulances several times in the last couple years. So I actually am all for this, and I encourage you to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the chambers who would like to speak specifically on this item? Seeing no one else, and I see no one else online, public comment on this item is now closed. Last chance for my colleagues to ask any questions or comments. Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve proposed resolution number R24-224?
24.
Second.
I was
right.
going to second for discussion, just want to add a quick
Go
comment.
ahead, sure.
Yep. So as previously stated at the last commission meeting where we discussed this item, I'm not going to be in support of this, but in addition to that, I do have a lot of seniors that are living on fixed incomes and they need help to be able to apply to this exemption. I did send an email to staff, with regard to fulfilling the request that I made last time at the previous commission meeting. There's an idea of potentially having a meeting, citywide. But in addition to that, that's completely fine. It's a good idea. But in addition to that, I do want to request, for me to be able to go with a staff member to Leisureville. It's a community that has a high population of 55-plus community, and many residents are living on fixed income. Some of them don't even drive anymore. It just depends on each situation, and I think it's in the best interest of the community, as well as my duty as their commissioner, to be able to have a staff member, or more than one really, because we have about, let's say, 2,000 or so seniors. If we were to do, a citywide meeting, we know that there's not that many rooms that can fit, 2,000 people, and the likelihood that they're going to be able to drive out is a lot of logistics. So at least for the seniors, for everyone else, I think it's a good idea to have a citywide meeting. However, for our seniors, I think that I would definitely like to request to have a specific meeting for them, and to have at least a couple of staff members that know the logistics and the details of the application. And I would also like to request to have the link to the application emailed to me, or really to all the commissioners, so they can disseminate that to their districts. That's my request.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Turkin, you had a comment?
Yep, thank you, Mayor. Last year, I think I brought this up about the fire assessment exemption. I think we need to take a look at loosening that up for our senior residents and for working class individuals. I had a neighbor that applied for it and she wasn't eligible, right? And they're on paycheck to paycheck, right? And so I think that's something this commission needs to look at. I don't want to go too much in depth and roadblock what we're doing now, but there's a lot of people that could benefit this, especially our senior community. And so I want to make sure that maybe we have a discussion item on that at a future agenda, and really talk about this, so that way next year we're prepared, and we can balance the budget in consideration of these exemptions and anticipated exemptions. Thanks.
Can you just send me an email, Commissioner Cruz, and outline exactly what you're thinking, and I'll, in a time frame, and we can move forward with there. I have no objections to that. I just know there's probably more than just Leisureville that we'd
Yeah,
have to
absolutely.
we'd have to look at, as far as like making sure we.
For sure.
And I think really what the idea behind this is given a simplistic explanation of what the seniors have to do, and maybe have some staff members walk through and kind of train the trainer, and like do a force multiplier in some of these 55-plus communities, so they can be helped, to get through the process.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
Commissioner.
can understand what is being said, and I concur with it. However, under these circumstances, I will support the 145 now, but as been stated, we look at our senior citizens, because to be quite honest, we are some of the very ones that want the service almost immediately, okay? And so for us to be able to give that service, I think is a greater plus than the few dollars that we're talking. However, we do need to discuss it. We do need to maybe allow opting out on the different circumstances and conditions. So I'm open for discussion in the future, but for right now, I support the resolution.
All right, thank you so much, everybody. It looks like we're ready to move forward. Let me just reread the item into the record to make sure everyone is super clear. This is proposed resolution number R24-224, which ratifies resolution number R24-192 adopted on September 3rd, 2024, for the fire assessment fee of $145 for fiscal year 24-25. Mayleach, want to confirm the motion was made by
I made the motion.
Commissioner Hay, and the second was made by Vice Mayor Kelly. All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Who opposes?
Is it roll call or
Nope, this is a regular resolution. If anyone
fire
objects?
assessment?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna say no.
All right, so we have an objection from Commissioner Cruz and Commissioner Turkin. So the item passes 3-2 with Commissioner Cruz and Commissioner Turkin dissenting. All right, thank you. We're going to move on to the next item. This is item C, proposed ordinance number 24-012. It's a second reading. City Clerk, if you could read the introduction into the record.
Proposed ordinance number 24-012, second reading, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending Part 2, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, City Manager, Section 2-30, Powers and Duties generally, and by creating a new subsection K, authorizing the city manager to execute all employment-related contracts on behalf of the city, providing for codification, severability, conflicts, and the effective date.
All right, thank you. Anything for staff, for my colleagues on this? Otherwise, I'll turn to public comment. Okay, public comment specifically on this item. If you'd like to speak specifically on this item, now is the time to approach the podium. This is, again, authorizing the city manager to execute employment-related contracts on behalf of the city. All right, begin when you're ready.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. For the record, Tom Remicchio, 4065 Trovita Boulevard in historic Norwood. So I've listened to the conversation over the last couple months on this issue, and I have a couple comments. First, on the given the authority to the city manager to sign shouldn't be an issue because the city commission does have the authority to grant that limited authority to your city manager. However, I would caution you on using the word all city contracts. As you know, you contract the city attorney and the city manager, and you may want to leave those contractual employment agreements to come directly to you instead of them now going to the city manager. So I would caution you on using the word all and recommend that you be more specific on that recommendation. And then in general, in listening to the back and forth, it is clear that my interest is preserving the mayor's authority in the board governance structure. When you look at the four forms of government that we have in the state of Florida, with the commission manager, the strong and weak forms of government as well, we're using the most popular. 70% of all of the communities in the state of Florida use the commission or the council manager form of government. And you'll notice that they're equal on the listing in state statute and in your city charter. And they're equal on the same line with a hyphenated because you share in the administrative side, the city manager is responsible for, and it's clear with that limited authority granted to him in state law and in your city charter. And then you have the authority that's granted to the mayor. So I like to have the protection. For example, if, say you debate a contract for an employment, a union contract, and you agree to a 3.5% increase for that contract. When the contract's not gonna be here the night that you typically approve it. It'll come back to you once the language is crafted, And therein lies the city manager then brings that to you with the city attorney. So you would want the second set of eyes being either the mayor or the council side. It's board governance. It's not a power grab by one or the other. It's really just a balance of the structure that you have somebody else and a second set of eyes looking at that contract when it comes back to you. But remember, in the preamble of state law, in the Florida Constitution, and in your own city charter, the preamble states that all of the power of the city government is granted to the city commission. And then there you make the two appointments.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Next speaker.
Cindy Falco Di Corrado. I did want to make it clear that we are not a strong mayoral government here. And in my understanding, as the title of mayor, your vote is as a commissioner's vote. You don't have a hierarchy here. There's no hierarchy. I do want to understand what the city manager's position is, because to my understanding, if he's supposed to manage the city, how is he to do that with his hands tied? Now, I do believe in, again, you having an input in that, because you do represent the people, but how is a city manager? I mean, I'm thinking, what is a city manager if he can't do his job and he's not allowed to do that, but yet he's going to be held accountable because he's a city manager? What do we have a city manager for? And what are we paying for? Well, because he's supposed to have a position to have certain authorities to do certain things. Now, I always believe things in two, so if the city manager and maybe a commissioner, make yourself available when he needs something done. His job is to manage this city. And it feels like you guys have cut him off, that he can't even function. It's just not right. Period. End of story. And we are not a strong mayorship, and we will never be a strong mayorship for that gentleman who just came up here who's running for mayor. We're not going to give that to you either. Thank you.
Smoke.
All right, is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak on this item? Seeing no one else, and I see no one online, with that, public comments on this item is now closed. May I have a motion to approve proposed ordinance number 24-012? I am looking for a motion to approve this item. Was that a so move?
Yeah, sure,
Okay.
so moved, yeah.
Is there a second to approving this item? So, folks, I do want to encourage you to all support this. This modifies
There's
the
not a second,
ordinance.
the motion fails.
Let me just finish my comments. We know how this operates, but let me just clarify to my colleagues. This item has been amended. It says here for employment-related contracts, which he already does have the authority. This would just codify it by ordinance. I thought we were on the same page on this, but, again,
Isn't that the direction that we got last commission meeting?
precisely to modify it and only allow this particular item. That is my
Right.
understanding
Okay.
from our last commission meeting.
Okay, so motion to approve.
So we have a motion here. Is there a second on this item? Last call for a second. All right. Hearing no second, this motion dies for lack of a second. Okay? All right. So we're going to continue to the next item. This is item 8D, proposed ordinance number 24-012, another second reading ordinance. Let me turn to the city clerk for the official reading.
Proposed ordinance number 24-017, second reading, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending the City of Boynton Beach's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 15, Offenses, Miscellaneous, Article 9, Community Appearance and Maintenance, Section 15-120, Minimum Standards for Appearance and Maintenance of Public Property and Private Property, providing for conflicts, severability, codification, and providing for an effective date.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Stone?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. I don't know if you want a presentation. It's the same one. I did make the change to the grass to 9 inches. That's the only update that was made.
Uh-oh.
Thought that was a fire alarm for a second. PTSD.
It is an Amber Alert.
All right.
Well,
Ms. Stone, if you could please continue.
If up to you guys, do you want to see the presentation again? Or the change was they went from 6 inches to 9 inches in the
Was it the
grass.
only change to it?
Yes.
Okay. With that, are there any requests from my colleagues to go through it again?
I don't need to go through the
Okay.
presentation again.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, so let's turn now to public audience on this item, public comment. If you would like to speak specifically for ordinance number 24-017, now is the time to approach the podium.
Susan Oyer, Boynton Beach, Florida. You guys are getting me a lot tonight. You had to pick a busy evening, huh? So I want to say that I take issue with the whole carport issue in code. I mean, I'm still hearing from people around Boynton that are irritated that they are being picked upon for their carport problem. And, you know, I know what code is, but I will say, the average person can't afford to switch their carport to a garage, which of course we know would drastically increase the value of their home because a garage is worth more than a bedroom at this point in Boynton Beach. But picking on people for having a box or having shelving in their carport is wrong. I mean, isn't that part of what the place is for storage? And you're citing people for having shelving in their carport. You're citing people for having a box sitting in their carport. It's their carport. They can do what they want. I get it if the stuff is spilling out of the carport and it's going on the side, it's going in the driveway, then I could see where that would be worth citing people over. But let people have their carports and do what they want to with them. They aren't going after people who make them into separate rooms with chairs and tables. They're not doing that. They're not going after people who are using them for gymnasiums and putting exercise equipment in, but they're going after you for having a box and for having shelving. That's out of control. So I would say, please make sure you're looking at that when you're putting forth this final version, that you acknowledge the fact that a very large percentage of people in Boynton Beach have a carport, and this needs to properly address that. And thank you.
All right, thank you. Next speaker.
Cindy Falco Di Corrado. I want to say private property is private property. They have the perimeters of what they purchase property from the front yard to the backyard and the side to side. That is private property. Nobody has the right to say anything on private property. It's not an HOA. We live in a free country, supposedly, and we know that's not true, but we're still working on that. Okay? And so let's respect people's boundaries. Let's respect the private property owner. And on this note, as I just said to you, the alleyway, which is owned by the city of Boynton Beach, is a disgrace. Who charges who for that, and when does that get rectified? We're talking about beautification. It's disgusting. There could be people stealing and putting stuff in the high grass. There's 6-7 foot high tall grass behind our alleyway and the one next door. And I called twice. And I've called and I left my name. I told them where it's at. No one's gotten back with me. No one's mowed it. No one's even looked at it. It could become rats, problems, raccoons. Who knows what could happen? And so who gives the city code enforcement, which is public property, which should be taken care of? And as I stated before, I shouldn't have to make the phone calls. It should be on a regular system that every 2 weeks they come out and they mow these alleyways. The beast of the burden shouldn't be on me. And again, leave people's private property private. We don't live in a HOA. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Last call. Seeing no one else approaching the podium and seeing no one online, public comments on this item is now closed. May I have a motion to approve this proposed resolution number 24-017?
Before you make the motion.
Go ahead, if you have more comments.
I got some questions too.
Okay.
I do have a heart for what has been said by the public on this particular item. I have a situation right across from my house where the person has a boat and he had it parked on the side, out of the way. He was on the side, but had some stuff in the carport. But he was made to bring that boat and put it in the driveway. Okay, and now to me, it's a terrible appearance of having that boat in the driveway like it is. It was much better where it was, out of sight. Not out of sight, but it was neat right there beside the wall. But all of a sudden now, we, the city, made him drag it out into his circular driveway And every time I back out or pull in or look over there, I see this boat, and it's ugly. And I'm just wondering, what are we doing? The other piece of that is number two, is that, and I'm talking here, okay, is that we're not consistent across the board, okay? I don't want to get into a personality thing here, but I notice from the calls that I've gotten and the visits that I've made to owners' properties, that there's inconsistencies on what we're doing, because this neighbor over here, his garage looked like hell, and over here it's really neat, but they still get a violation, and it doesn't add up. So I think we need to look hard at what we're doing here and be consistent across the board and get some clarity, because I certainly, as a neighbor, I would want that guy that lived across from me put that boat back where he had it. So I don't know where to go from here with this. I think we need some more, views and talks on this, unless Adam or you can help me out here. So.
Well, just so I can clarify, the boat, the recreation vehicles, that's a completely different ordinance.
Okay.
It's not part of this one. And then
But just answer me one question.
Yes.
That boat has been there, he takes it out every now and then, for over 20 years, and it's never been a problem. Why is it a problem now?
Sometimes you get a new code officer and they see things differently, and sometimes, old code officers don't see the same exact violations, or maybe they look at something different. It's like you said, consistency. So something I'm trying to work with the department and with half my staff being new, which is why we're probably having a lot of people come up here, is because we're starting to trying to cite more consistently all the ordinances and all the codes, not just selective ones. So sometimes it might be feeling that way right now. But like the stuff in the garage and not the garage, but in the carports, that has always been in the ordinance. All I'm doing is clarifying that. So and again, we have to be consistent, like you said.
Now, going back to the carport, are we saying that the only thing that's allowed in the carport is a car?
Yes.
Not a table, not a chair, not a piece of furniture, and all that
Technically,
kind of
yes.
stuff?
Technically,
Is that what
yes.
we're saying?
Yes, carport is for a car. Again, we don't go as hard as every little thing. If there's like a small storage thing in there, small crate, we don't really go for those. It's more like I said, the big mess ones that, that have a ton of outside storage. But if you take that away from the code completely, then we can't enforce anything inside of a carport. And then you're left with exactly that, a large pile of trash inside carports. So it's not good to remove it from a code, but I have to ensure my staff is enforcing it equally.
I still have a problem with the enforcement piece of it, and I need more talk right now. I can't support this right now.
Commissioner Turkin?
No, I agree. I think, what it's called? It's called selective enforcement. We see that all the time. And, with the carport, there's a lot of carports that have been converted into additional bedrooms that I know don't have permits, right? And they're not getting nicked from code. Maybe not all the time, maybe sometimes, but, I think as far as the carport thing goes, there should be a percentage of the carport where I have a carport, I keep my truck in it. So I can say I keep my truck in it, but I also keep a shelf in there. Am I wrong or am I right? So, because I'm technically following the code, but, I don't have a large house and I utilize that space. So I think there needs to be a happy median for, like, maybe looking at a percentage of that carport to be used, and then that mitigates the problem of trash, because we definitely don't want bundles and bundles of trash, in our carports. But I definitely agree with Commissioner Hay on this one in respect to the carport. Maybe need to take a look at this thing again and revisit. But for the trees, the trimming the trees, this came up because there's a lot of issues in Chapel Hill, a lot of families in there. And, the neighbors are concerned about those trees whacking the power lines and, creating a dangerous situation for the kids. Can I so the the 10-foot from the canopy, can I get some clarity on that? Or I think it says 10 foot from the tree,
Right, so the canopy has to be 10 feet from the power lines itself,
over it,
under.
under it.
We're talking about ones overhead power lines, so the tree has to be 10 feet under. So you're supposed to plant the right tree to begin with in order for you to meet that. But like we said, right now, we're bringing that into a city who has never had that ordinance. So you're gonna have lots of people that's violating the ordinance. But that's the only way to start. We would have to educate and get, homeowners to understand that these trees are actually endangering themselves. But yeah, so they would have to be under. And FPNL has a rule of also 15 feet away, the other direction.
From the trees.
They
There's
have a-
power lines in Forest Park that dip down almost to the fence line. So, I mean, I see it everywhere.
Wow.
So at that point, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna touch that power line, and neither is that neighbor, And so, I mean, we all know how hard it is to get FPL out. I mean, it took him 3 weeks just to change the lights on my street. And so,
Well, the only way to add it in ordinance is to put stipulations in there.
can we change the amount, the length?
That goes by the standards of I can remove the verbiage from there, but there's still a standard that it's 10 feet, away, is safety, is the 10 feet away.
Yeah, because like my intention is to make sure that obviously we're all holding ourselves accountable to make sure an accident doesn't happen, right? I think everyone here can agree we don't want accidents to happen. We want to do what we can to promote safety in the community. But at the same time, I don't want residents to get nicked and, I mean, heck, I'm thinking.
So we can remove the 10.
I think I need to go trim some trees right now.
We can remove the 10, I can remove that verbiage, but it's still, if there's a tree, if a resident has a tree touching the power lines or
Right.
it's so close, then they're in this, almost the same exact situation. They have to probably remove the tree or hire a landscaper to trim the
Prune
tree.
it. That I agree with, right? I think if it's touching, maybe a foot or two, I get it, but 10
Right.
feet, I mean, that's a good bit. I mean, you're gonna have a lot of people getting rid of their trees.
Or we can reverb it also for like newly planted trees, ensure that, they follow the guidelines.
Or newly planted trees. So then how do you dictate the newly planted versus,
When we get a city arborist,
Yeah, I was gonna say, we would need an arborist to make that determination, not a code officer.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, to make I guess, a legal observation of that, Yeah, I would like to remove the 10-foot portion, and I think encroaching would be, I think, more of the concern. That's my opinion, obviously. It's up to the board.
Thank you, Commissioner Turkin. Let's turn to Vice Mayor Kelly, who's been waiting patiently.
Thank you. Commissioner Turkin, my only concern, and not to have debate necessarily back and forth, but my only concern with that is then we're now then opening up who's going to patrol that and who's going to decide what's too close, what's not too close. So I think that we have to have a number. My concern with this is that, my understanding is this would go into effect immediately, and my issue comes with residents who immediately become in violation of this new ordinance. And what is then our notice period? What is going to be our grace period? Because what I don't want to see is that this goes into effect and then we have residents coming to us, because I know it's going to happen. We're going to have residents that are going to say, I've had these trees for 20 years and I've never had an issue. You create this ordinance and now I have to have it cut down by a tree trimmer, and it's going to cost me thousands of dollars, depending on the trees and how many and what you're talking about. But to clean out a whole area that's because it's encroaching on power lines, we then run into an issue where now we're creating a financial burden to residents. And I understand we need to do this. I understand the purpose of it. Along Congress Avenue, I talked to staff about it today. Along Congress Avenue, trees are literally growing around the power lines. Well, so we know it's necessary, but my fear is that we just immediately start this and now we're in a mess, because now we're going to be on the side of having to to having code be on the side of causing, financial issues and burdens to the residents. So what's your rollout plan, for this to be rolled out so that we're not creating that burden? Because we know, and we're talking about this for a reason, because there's an issue.
Right, correct. There's gonna have to be an education period, and there's gonna have to be a period where we go door and hang, give door hangers, give notice out, put it on Facebook, put on Instagram, educate the public on what's to come, and we won't cite for it, just like we did with kind of the short-term rentals, give that grace period, allow people to save up money to trim the trees where they know that it's, touching a power line or they have outages. And they still can call FP&L, but FP&L, it takes a long time to get out there, or they can hire their own tree trimmer, but it's gonna have to be an education period, and it could be 6 months, it could be a year if that's what it takes to get the word out, because there are a lot of overgrown will be considered with this, update. But it is necessary.
I agree it's necessary. That's my concern, though, is that now we're then putting this burden on residents. We're sitting here talking about budget and taxes and all that, and now we're creating an ordinance that for, some residents, I won't say many, but some residents, it's going to create a financial burden to them. So I want to know, and maybe even before this passes, so that we know what the plan is, but I want to know what the plan is moving forward. How are we going to implement this? What's the period going to be? And what are options for residents who can't afford to have, what's the city going to do to assist the residents in making sure that they can get to the point of compliance? Because what I don't want to run into is we just continue to code them and violate them and violate them and violate them, and now they have a huge violation bill, and the trees are still not trimmed, and we're just sitting here going, well, that's the law, and so it's on you. So those are my thoughts on that. I would rather see this get tabled and have a plan in place before we put this into place. And then we can address the carport issue. Maybe that ordinance needs to come back before us so we can look at it and really evaluate what it needs to be. So, and thank you, Candace, for making sure that I know you have new staff. I know you're working hard to get them trained. But just like the other, my colleagues, it is about consistency and making sure that we're being consistent. And, we don't know, though, if one neighbor was given a violation and the other one wasn't, because the one just goes out and pressure washes their driveway and they pay the fine or whatever it is. So we also have to be mindful that there may be people that are getting code violations that are just not vocal about it, too.
They may be leaned already.
Right, so.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I did see the city manager's hand was up. City Manager?
Yeah, I think we got a consensus that we need to go back and take a look at some of the things and maybe table this item like Commissioner Kelly suggested with some of the information Commissioner Hay, Commissioner Turkin had brought up. So if Commissioner Cruz and you are okay with that, Mayor, we'll just
I have no objection.
We'll look at the
table?
yeah, we'll look at the item, and then we'll bring it back and get some further input from you guys.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Stone, did you have any last words, or that was it? Okay.
Do you want to table it to the 15th, October 15th?
If that's enough time
You made the
for
motion,
staff.
Commissioner.
Enough
Is that-
time for staff
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
bring us back what we're asking.
15th is good.
Okay.
all right. The motion is to table it to the 15th meeting.
Yes.
October 15th. And is that a second from Commissioner Hay? All right. All those in favor of tabling this item to the October 15th meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. This item has been tabled. We're going to move on to the next item here. This is proposed ordinance number 24-019. It's a second reading. Maylee, if you could read it into the record.
Proposed ordinance number 24-019, second reading, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending Part 2 of the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 26, Water, Sewer, and City Utilities, to provide that all water, sewer, and city utility fees, rates, and charges shall be set by the City Commission by resolution and authorizing the annual CPI adjustment, providing for conflict, severability, codification, and an effective date.
All right, thank you, Maylee. Let me turn now to my colleagues. If they have any questions for staff on this item, now is the time to make it known. Seeing no one raising their hands, let me turn now to public audience on this item. If you have specific comments regarding this particular ordinance, now is the time to approach the podium. It's all right. Let me switch to the timer. All right.
Balco Di Corrado, I'd just like to have more clarification. Is this what we're being assessed for as well on our utilities under the assessment? We're being assessed for utilities also. Is this part of that? I'm trying to comprehend what this portion is about. I thought utility fees and things like that were usage. I didn't think it was up to you guys to make up a number. I thought, you know, our water and everything else is on a meter, and so we get charged for what we use. So am I misunderstanding this? It doesn't make sense to me, and I would like some more clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to approach the podium? Last call. All right, I see one more person coming up.
Sorry, don't put so many interesting things on one agenda. Susan Oyer, Boynton Beach. So, like Cindy, is this a cost of living adjustment, 3% that's being added to our water and sewage fees every year on top of all the fees we already pay? I mean, I use very, very little water. I'm one person and I'm, you know, eco crazy. Don't even have grass in the yard. And you know, I still have to pay like $72, $75 a month. And I use half of what everyone else uses. And now you want to raise it another 3%, because I didn't complain about raising it a couple bucks this year. You'll recall I said, you know, have one less Starbucks and you know, let's pay for this. And Commissioner Cruz argued against me, but that's okay. But if you're trying to do a 3% cost of living adjustment every single year, raising this 3% every year, then I think we've really moved into an area where you're wrong. So please, you know, stop and think about this. It really needs to be usage, and we really should be encouraging less usage, not, you know, going crazy here, charging the heck out of everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Say your name for the record.
Mr. Hagens, because I'm not understanding any of all of this increase. I'm hoping y'all don't keep passing all these ordinances or whatever y'all call them, because it may not look to be a quarter, a dime here for you guys, maybe because of what y'all make, but according to what I make, everything, every little thing from the utilities, it was lights, it was water, you know, everything, it keeps going up. And those nickels and dimes, that it hurts me. It might not hurt anybody else, but it hurts me. So I'm not on a budget, and my heart goes out to the senior citizens, because I work for them. I do work for senior citizens, and I know I don't make a lot, and my the type of work I do, I can't lessen what I do just because of what I make. I heard about the budget. I hear this big number, and I would like to know what you guys are going to do with all this money. I'm hoping that it's going to help me or the citizens of Boynton Beach. I'm hoping that it's going to help all of us. So I'm sitting here. I mean, you're talking so fast. I'm trying to understand some of it, because I don't understand all of it. I'm glad I have some representatives that knows what y'all are talking about, and I'm listening to them also. Some things I agree with them with, and some things, you know, I don't. I mean, the 145 is neither here nor there. I mean, I'm glad senior citizens do want you to get to them, but they should, because they're old, but and you know, maybe they can't get around, but I still don't see why the senior citizens, I think we should cut it off when it comes to senior citizens, myself, because filling out papers, when you get old, you don't want to do all that and try to, at least I don't. If I live to see their age, I don't want to have to sign something saying, oh, I qualify for this. Make it an age limit or something. When these people start working and living on a budget, you can't keep going up. You know, I can take a little of the flack because I'm still working. But when I get older, I don't want this cost to keep going up. I would like to have my soda and chips, because see, I might can't afford caviar, but taking a little sodas or chips, I don't mind, you know, and I think if I work, I've been on my job 38 years, if I work for these pennies all these years, I deserve sodas and chips.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to approach the podium? Seeing no one else, and I see no one else online, public comments on this item is now closed. If there's any other questions or comments from my colleagues, I'll entertain a motion to approve this item.
Yeah, the only comment regarding this, and, you know, I made the comment also during the agenda review, but it's, you know, it's where I think it removes one level of accountability to change this to be a resolution versus an ordinance, because it could be put on the consent agenda, and then we're not letting the public know, hey, there could be, or there's going to be a 3.5 increase every year, unless, you know, the commission strikes it down. And in order for the commission to strike it down, it would need to be pulled from consent, unless maybe we require that be placed in a different place in the agenda.
I'm sorry, I just need clarification for myself and the clerk. I thought we were on item E, which is relating to the firefighter pension.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I have the old. Okay, I was, thank you. Sorry, I have my old agenda. Thank you for the clarification.
No, in reference to what you said, Commissioner Cruz, if you guys want to find another spot to put it on the agenda, staff is open to do that, whatever the body would like. If at the same time, I know we pulled the one item tonight, and we obviously chose to table it, but whatever.
I'm sorry, this is an ordinance. It has to go here. So all we're doing is passing the ordinance, and in the future, it only allows a resolution for the rate changes instead of an ordinance.
But that can be put on.
And those,
consent
yes, that can
agenda.
be.
That's what she's asking.
That can be placed on public hearing, correct. I thought you were referring to this particular item.
No, I was referring to in the future as it increases by 3.5%, unless the commission at that point, whoever's here, strikes it down.
So you want to have that put on public hearing as opposed to consent?
Yes, if we
And
can.
require public notice, I think, was
Yes,
kind of
thank
where
you.
we're getting at, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
100%.
I 100% agree with that. Have to require the public notice. Because what it looks like, the optics of it, right, is, oh, they're just going to be able to say yes, and then there's a 3.5 increase, and we didn't know, right? 90% of residents are busy. They work. You know, they have families. They don't have the time to do their due diligence. That's why they vote for representation to do that due diligence. And so I think requiring that public notice into this, I could support.
Just for clarification, the only reason that 3.5% is here is because we've had such wild swings in our inflation for the last 2 or 3 years. And it's not an automatic that prices are going to go up 3.5%. It's just like our fire contracts that we just renegotiated. Every single contract the city has, unfortunately, it didn't have it in the past, but you have to account for present and future values of money, and every year your dollar gets less and less value. Every single year. So if inflation runs to 9% and we have essentially your dollar is worth that much less, and that cost gets passed on to the city because we have private vendors that we actually have to do business with to provide water, sewer, stormwater services to the city. So that's essentially what this is accounting. I can tell you right now, if inflation isn't going up 3.5%, it's no one's intention on this dais to raise those prices at that point.
Right. I think the conversation is what this is doing is eliminating the 2 public hearings as an ordinance. And so what could happen, say in the future, beyond this commission, is you could have a commission that could just vote yes in a consent agenda item, and we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we instill tools to prevent that and make sure that, you know, if there is a 2% or 4%, whatever the increase may be, that it's not just overnighted and that the residents are aware and there's a public notice and they have the opportunity to speak. I think that's what my colleague was getting at.
I'm completely supportive of that. So.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Vice Mayor. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Just wanted to point one thing out, that we are required to do public notification for any increases, and we have to show that clearly what the increase is. So that's a requirement. And this is just to make sure that we don't have to change the ordinance for every single fee that might need changing. in a couple of years or not changing, whether it's up or down. So that's why we are saying that bring it out, so actually you are able to see it more clearly in a resolution, because we'll pull out every year you will see all the fee. When it's in the ordinance, the fees are in the ordinance, you don't see them every year. You don't know what the fee is, so this is actually going to show it to you. But any changes or any increases or decreases or whatever we're doing with utility fee and rates, we have to send public notification to all utility customers.
Is that like a 30-day notification?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Sorry,
So,
didn't
so,
mean to
so it
interrupt.
would allow for up to a 3.5% increase, but it's not necessarily going to be 3.5, depending on every year what the cost is to the city, and the city's going to work tirelessly to make sure that that number stays as low as possible.
Correct. And it's still the commission's decision. We'll just bring it
Right.
based on what's
Right.
needed.
Buck stops here.
All right, is there anything else from my colleagues? All right. If there is anyone who'd like to make a motion,
Motion to approve ordinance number 24-019.
and is there a second to this motion? Second. All right, we have a second from Commissioner Turkin. City Clerk, please begin.
Commissioner Hay,
Yes?
Commissioner Turkin, Commissioner Cruz,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Penserga.
Yes.
In a roll call vote, the motion passed unanimously.
Thank you. We're going to move on to item 8F. There are two related items to 8F, and council, I just want to confirm with you, is it all right if we have one public comment for these two highly related items? Or would you prefer them to be separate?
No, they can be one public comment, but we do need to swear in witnesses, and any ex parte disclosures need to be made at this time with regard to this specific item. That means you got to read the little
Yeah,
chat in your book.
yeah, absolutely. Please begin.
Anyone that is here to speak on item 8F, please stand up and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I'm sorry, we had one person that wasn't sworn. Two, one. Kevin, sit down.
Anyone that are here, okay,
I
please
guess he's
stand up and
speaking
raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that
he's
that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, you may have a seat.
Go ahead and read the item.
Okay, so it's proposed resolution number R24-221, adopt the final millage, oh, I'm so sorry, hold on a second, let me go down to the
The
right one.
development order.
Approved development order request for major site plan modification application for the Ezel Hester Junior Community Park to construct a 17,500 square foot aeronasium over the existing basketball court.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Kevin Ramsey, Public Works Director, and to my right is Carl Frumenti, Division Director of Public
Construction Services, Public Works. Okay, so,
Wait, we need to do disclosures, please.
Who has the sheet? Could somebody begin?
This matter, I have not had ex parte communications with anybody. I've not received any written communications regarding this matter. I have not conducted investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions regarding this or request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
I have not had any ex parte communication. I have not received any written communication. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinion except for staff. I request that these disclosures and all written communication be made part of the record.
As for myself, as for this matter, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions outside of the city's staff. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. As to this matter, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record. Thank you.
As to this matter, I have not had expert communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions other than staff. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Thank you. Staff, if you'd like to begin.
Sure. Okay, so good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commission. We'd like to come before you this evening to request approval for a major site plan modification. And for what? Well, basically, it's for an aeronasium. It's part of the Hester Sports Complex. Everybody in this room should be familiar by now with what we're doing over there, constructing a premier sports facility for the city of Boynton Beach. So what is an aeronasium? An aeronasium is an open-air structure, a clear span structure that's going to cover the 2 basketball courts that are there. Basically, it's approximately a 17,500 square foot. It includes lights, solar lighting. Whoa, the slides are going a little crazy there. Okay, so the benefits. So basically what's going to happen is it's going to provide year-round comfort for the people that are using the facility. It'll be a large area for low maintenance. It's a durable structure. It's ideal for sports facilities and community gatherings. Could we go back to the previous slide, please? I wasn't quite finished there.
You didn't mean my clickers.
Okay, and basically, the option, it also has an option to add solar panels in the future to manage our costs. Okay, basically, the site improvements for this project will involve resurfacing the basketball courts. We will construct a new clear span structure. And it will resurface the existing basketball courts. We will replace the signage on the building, basically on the exterior of the building, with the park name, and there'll be additional site lighting up under the facility as well, with circular high. I'm sorry, I'm having some difficulty seeing the graphics there. But basically, the project scopes involves constructing the estimated costs are $1.7 million. Grant funding is to be determined. It's actually a CBDG grant.
Correct.
And the project timeline anticipated to start up in October of '24 and completion June of '25. And in conclusion, basically, we'd like to put this facility to use for the public. Part of this for a second. I just
You should be focusing on the side. That one.
okay, I got it.
There you go.
Okay, so the new aeronasium will actually be a nice facility, provide year-round gathering place. Will be ideal for sports events and community gatherings. That's all. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you to both of you. Vice Mayor Kelly, I see your hand is up. And then
Thank
we'll
you,
go to
Mayor.
Let's go Vice Mayor. Is it urgent? We'll go to Vice Mayor first, and we'll go to
No,
City
I just
Manager.
wanted to say, I know this project, Mayor, was your idea. It's a long time coming. And I understand you probably wanted it done a couple of months ago, but I just wanted to obviously say that we worked pretty diligently to make sure it was done. And I know, I just wanted to make sure that you understood that we did push through and try to get this accomplished, so.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And on that note, I just want to remind everybody, the original reason for this was for solar panels. I had seen the calculations that were done, and the return on investment was significant. It would have essentially paid itself in a few years, and technology gets better every year. And I know there were some issues with putting it on the roof, and so they said, could we have an alternate location? And so that came up with the aeronasium. But great job. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. My question actually, Mayor, is kind of along those lines. I know I asked staff, what is our plan moving forward with adding solar or, you know, finding a solar vendor to add that? Because what I don't want to happen is we put this up and then we forget about the solar. and it doesn't happen. And so I really want to know what our plan is because, like the mayor said, that was kind of the point of this, was to find a place where we could incorporate solar. And you know, solar is very popular, and I think that, I think usually if we're smart about it and find a partnership with someone, we could probably get it done sooner than we think. But what is the plan moving forward with adding solar to this facility?
Okay, the design of this was we took the solar panels that were to go onto Hester Center, and we used that way to engineer this structure, okay? With East El Hester being developed, Phase 1A, almost finished, and Phase 2, the thought process was now we have a roof that can triple the size that we're gonna put in Hester, right? So we even have more solar panels. So that, in turn, could actually run all the power of the entire parking lot and offset some of the power of the fields. So moving forward, first step, let's get the Serenasium up so we have the structure there. Part of the design has the power that has the capabilities of expanding from, into Phase 2. So at that point, we're still modifying that design of the whole site, Phase 1B, and even the area where it's at right now. So step one is get this. Yes, solar's still very much in the crosshairs to do this project. As it develops and expands, it's going to be incorporated inside that design of the parking lot and everything else that's there, the sports lighting and whatnot we have. Okay? That's the idea.
So you think once we get going, you'll have a better idea of what the plan is for solar? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from my colleagues? Staff?
Record, Kevin Ramsey.
Okay.
Carl Fermenti.
Okay.
She asked for it, I mean, I
All
said it
right.
once before.
Thank you
Okay,
so
all
much.
Thank you.
With that, we'll turn to public comment on these two related items. This is item 8F. Let me switch to the timer.
Cindy Falco Di Corrado. Just a thought on the solar panels. How does it hold up in the hurricanes? What kind of damage is it going to cause? What is the density? Are we creating more problems? Because, you know, we do live in a hurricane area. And was that thought about when putting this project together? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on these items? Seeing no one in the chambers and seeing no one online, public comments on these items are now closed. With that, I'll entertain a motion. There's two separate items here. So the first one would be to approve the development order request for major site plan modification application for the Zell Hester Junior Community Park. That's the first item.
Moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Cruz and a second from Commissioner Hay. All those in favor of the motion to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone oppose? Motion passes unanimously. The second related item here is to approve the development order for major site plan modification for the Zell Hester Junior Community Park to construct a 15,000 square foot arenasium over the existing basketball court. May I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
We have a motion here from Vice Mayor Kelly and a second from Commissioner Hay. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Now we've concluded item 8F. We are now moving on to section 9, City Manager's Report. City Manager, please begin.
Thank you, Mayor. This is in reference to an update for all our future agenda items. What I really wanted to highlight is items H, I, J, and K. Unless the commission has a specific ask or request, I can have that particular staff member come up, and we can actually entertain any sort of questions from the body as a whole. I guess, do you guys want to go over any of your specific items that already have a date certain that are going to go forward for discussion?
As for me, I know you said items H, I, J, and K.
Correct.
The way it's written, it sounds like they're one-on-one meetings. I'm going to stick with that. That's fine with me, to have a one-on-one meeting to have those discussions in detail.
Right.
But if there's anything else you guys would like to discuss, yeah, absolutely.
For me, item I did have a discussion this week with staff.
And that's with Assistant City Manager Adam Temple. Adam, do you want to go into any detail as far as like can we get a date certain? Did we get enough information?
Basically, we had a meeting, and what we're gonna try to do is have a meeting with community stakeholders to get feedback as to what they want to see, and then we can work on the actual ordinances and then go from there. But yes, after, I see there's a note from 9/9. We did have a meeting this week, what was it, 21st?
It was on Friday.
On Friday. So, yep, just wanted to get that update.
I believe there's an amendment to the flood ordinance that's supposed to be coming on October 1. Should I hold that pending?
No.
Oh.
No,
Okay.
we're gonna, what we're gonna do is maybe have that printed out and then talk about it during that community stakeholder meeting. And kinda
Before
go from-
October 1, though?
No, I think we can move forward with that on the commission side, and then we're looking more like the development and engineering side for our
Okay.
local residents.
I just wanted to make sure I
Thank you.
didn't
I
bring
appreciate
something
it.
forward twice. Thank you.
Thank you for looking out. Were there any other questions or comments on any of these items? Anything that could help with the city manager and
Nope,
staff?
I like this format. It's good.
It's
So
all
thanks for
Deputy
putting this
City
together.
Manager Andrew Mack.
Yep.
His
Thanks.
idea, his format.
Thanks, Andrew.
Mayor?
Yes.
On my item on K, I spoke to Andrew and you, and I will connect with Maylee to discuss what, she's going to review how the advisory board ordinance changed, and if there's anything that we need to circle back on that needs some clarification, then we're going to discuss it. So it doesn't have a date certain yet. Thank you.
Question. If I wanted to have a discussion on establishing and actually like constructing the passive park at Leisureville, do I need to add that to a future agenda? Or is that administrative under the $200,000 threshold?
It depends on the amount of money. Obviously, it's new construction, and we would have to obviously do an evaluate. Potentially, it could be administrative, but we would need to have a one-on-one meeting with you and see what the costs are gonna be. So, and we could use our architect. I'm pretty sure Anderson could most likely handle a mock-up or something.
Okay, yeah, I would appreciate that. Maybe if staff can reach out to me with that. I don't think it'll cost much money at all. I think it's gonna be just trying to keep the landscaping and keeping everything passive. And then I would have a meeting with my constituents to see what they wanna see, but I don't think it'll cost a lot of money.
Okay, just let me know.
Anything else from my colleagues? Going once, going twice? All right, thank you so much, everybody. We're going to keep going forward. Now we're Section 10, regular agenda. The first item under Section 10 is proposed resolution number R24-223, ratification of the fiscal year 24-25 CRA budget.
So because this, if anybody had any public comments or resolution, it would have happened during regular audience, so you can just make a vote on it.
Okay. Were there any comments from my colleagues or anything else? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion
Motion to approve.
Motion came from Commissioner Turkin, second came from Commissioner Hay. All those in favor of ratifying the fiscal year 24-25 CRA budget, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Item 10B, discussion and review of draft cleanliness plan. This was an item that I had requested. Thank you so much, staff, for your work on this.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Kevin Ramsey, Public Works Director.
Annalee Holmes, Deputy Director of Public Works. This evening, we'll be providing an update on the Clean City Action Plan. There are other departments that will also be joining us here. I'll be providing the update on the Public Works portion. Under Public Works, we have the items that fall under Public Works are Streets and Beautification Division, the Sidewalk Pressure Washing, Adopt a Road Program, Street Sweeping, Right-of-Way Appearance Coordination, and the Bus Stop Condition Assessment. The first item, Streets and Beautification Division, will be responsible for contract management for street sweeping, right-of-way landscape maintenance, repair and maintenance of city-wide sidewalks and streets, public swale tree trimming, and maintaining tree canopy. This will be a new division that's going to be combined with the already existing streets division. October 6th, we'll be recruiting for a division director for the beautification department with 4 employees. The second item is the sidewalk pressure washing. An invitation to bid was published on August 27 to solicit bids to pressure wash all sidewalks on the major corridors biannually. These major corridors are Congress Avenue, Seacrest Boulevard, Federal Highway, Lawrence Road from Hypoluxo South to Gateway, Gateway Boulevard, Boynton Beach Boulevard, and Woolbright Road. A meeting with the local vendors was held on August 28th, 2024 at 3 p.m. by Kevin, where he provided them with information on the areas that we'll be concentrating on and give them more information about the project. The vendors were provided with the location of the sidewalks, square footage, and we did an inventory of the sidewalks, the north and south roads. There's 924,528 square feet, and the east and west roads, there was 479,952 square feet. The third item is an item that was presented before. It's the Adopt a Road program. So the Adopt a Road program was created and presented to the commission on July 16, 2024. We are currently working with IT on getting the application and payment process for the website automated. We are trying to work out a few kinks. Next, we will be uploading the web page that provides a link for the application and payment. We're trying to see if we can automate this process as much as possible. We're also coordinating with the marketing department to promote this program. We have a meeting with marketing this week, and we are hoping to go live October 1st, 2024. Hopefully, we'll be able to work out everything with the website. If not, we will be able to accept applications via email. So we'll still be live. Just a reminder, the initial fee is $250, and that $250 includes the first year, and the price of one sign, which will be waived. There will be a fee of $100 for each additional year, and there will be a charge of $100 for each additional sign. Our next item is street sweeping. The city spends $160,036 annually on street sweeping. Street sweepers remove an average of 12,332 pounds of debris each month, which equates to 147,984 pounds or 73.99 tons annually. As we have established routes, and 130 miles are swept on a weekly basis. So we looked into possible options to expand services and try to delve into what that would look like. And we thought alternating routes would be a good idea. The first week of the month, we'd perform normal routes. And the next slide has a picture of the routes. The second week of the month, we'd perform 130 miles of only neighborhood sweeping. The third week of the month, we'd perform normal routes as attached, again, the next slide. And the fourth week of the month, we'd perform 130 miles of only neighborhood sweeping. And that's a copy of the routes. I know it's not easy to see. Our next item is a right-of-way appearance coordination. The Streets and Beautification Division will inspect sidewalks. We already do. We inspect the street signage, ADA transition of sidewalks along FDOT and PBC roads. Following each inspection, we'll submit a report detailing the findings, and these will be submitted to both FDOT and Palm Beach County to request for repairs be made to the areas noted in the report. And the last item for Public Works is the bus stop condition assessment. Palm Tran is currently conducting a bus stop condition assessment. The project is ongoing. They weren't able to provide us with a date of completion, but what they were able to, they did provide us with some information, which is that on August 30th, they had an item that went before their Board of County Commissioners to approve contracts to allow construction to begin on prioritized bus stops. There are 10 bus stops in Boynton Beach that were on that list. 9 actually were for new bus stops, and 1 was to replace the bus stop. I have a list here, and they're pretty much on Federal Highway. The replacement will be on Federal Highway at Boynton Beach Boulevard, and the new ones will be on Federal at 2 on Minor Road, 1 on Gateway Boulevard, 1 at Northeast 15th Place, the other at Northeast 15th Avenue, 1 at Federal and Boynton Beach Boulevard, Federal and Woolbright Road. Then we have 2 on Military at Boynton Beach Boulevard. Next, we will have community standards, provide an update on their items, and after everyone presents, then we'll take whatever questions you might have.
Vice Mayor, go ahead.
Sorry, I know that, I'm wondering if I can ask a quick street sweeping question since we're, before we transition to something else, if that's okay with my colleagues. I noticed when I was looking at the map, you don't necessarily need to go back to the map, but, and Minor Road, it's a county road, but it's horrible. And so if we're talking about beautification, we're talking about, you know, we talked ad nauseum about sidewalks and how we can, you know, maintain and take care of the sidewalks on county roads, but what can we do on Minor Road as far as street sweeping when it's, I mean, it's technically not our road, but it's, I mean, that's one of our thoroughfares into the city and it looks like garbage. So what can we do if we're talking about beautification? I mean, you know, in one ear, I talk about it being a county road, we need to protect ourselves, but at the same time, what can we do? Because it's not on our map for street sweeping. It's not something we've ever done, but it's really, it's in a bad way. And so I just wonder what we can do, and maybe.
In putting this together, the more I got into it with Palm Beach County and FDOT and our roads, which our roads are minimal, but it seems like we're sweeping their roads, but there are roads through our city, right? Mm-hmm. So Minor Road, we'll add that to it as well. I contacted them to see what their schedule of street sweeping is because they have drainage as well on these roads, you know, and that's what it's really about is MPDS. So I'm waiting for the answer back to see their schedule. That's why we thought we'd split up. Instead of just always doing those roads, I mean, there's certain neighborhoods that, all neighborhoods, actually all of our neighborhoods that wind up to be 124 miles. So maybe one week we do what we have, the next time we'll do the neighborhoods, parking lots, and Minor Road. Maybe hit the same route twice a month instead of like we're doing right now every week of the month, you know?
Okay.
So we'll do that.
Yeah, I just want to add that to the list of you know, areas to address and concerns, because that is a concern. And since you talked about that really quick, Andrew, super quick, Gateway Boulevard, when it flooded when we had the rainstorm a week ago, was that due to gutters being full, or was that due, because there was other areas of Gateway Boulevard that weren't flooded, but right there at the high school, it was several inches of water, and that's an FDOT road, and so, but our residents drive on that road. I had to practically drive on the wrong side of the road to get around this, you know, 10-inch puddle of water. So
part of that was due to the amount of rain that, or amount of water that was being stored in the canals. Lake Worth just didn't have a chance to pump it down, so the water level in the canals were very close to the levels of the inlets of the pipes. So that's why you start surcharging onto the roads. We'll make sure that obviously we've had a lot of rain over the last month and a half. I think it's just one of those things where Lake Worth just couldn't pump it down quick enough.
okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure if it's a gutter issue and Gateway's not being cleaned, and so that's causing, because where that is, it's the water runs downward. I just want to make sure that that's addressed too.
Engineering will be, and utility engineering is gonna look at that.
Okay.
There's something that we're gonna look at, see if there's something that we can do to keep it from surcharging in the future, like some type of valve or, some kind of apparatus we could put there.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Continue, thank you. Sorry.
Good evening again. Let me just, wrong way. So, or my update is, as you can see, I brought forward tonight the ordinance trying to update for chapter 15, section 15-120. And then we have some other sections of ordinances that we want to update as well in the future. Maybe not right now, but right now the chapter 115, section 115, 120 is the only update I have currently. So then now it's engineering.
Good evening, Amanda Radigan, Planning and Development Director. There are two programs or initiatives that are coming out of this department feeding into this plan. The first one is a collaboration between our engineering division and our public art division, and it is a traffic control box wrap program. We currently do not have one, but staff has already started conversations with both FDOT and the county to start pulling permits and getting the documents ordered to push this through. And our arts staff is getting together a call to artists to start selecting art that can be used as wraps. This is just a cool example of one. Here's another one that is actually very similar to the next graphic that you'll see on the next program. The second program is our vacant storefront program. This did launch a couple of months ago in August. We have allocated $25,000 into this program. We have had 2 installations and we have 1 that is in production right now. This is essentially an effort to beautify vacant storefronts. So we're not looking into empty, dead spaces. So we have done 2, and they're both right here on Ocean. So here's a before and after of what it looks like. And this is another one that we did also on Ocean. This has been really successful so far. We're getting lots of inquiries. So the more we do it, the more money hopefully we'll be able to allocate to it. Hi, good evening. Danny Michella, Public Affairs Director. So I'm in the process of putting together kind of a big picture look at city signage so we can show the commission what signage we already have in place, identify areas where we can either improve the signs or create new signage. We'll identify the types of signs, and this would be welcome signs to Boynton Beach locator signs, digital informational signs, as well as signs that cross over into public art somewhat. We'll coordinate with Planning and Zoning and the Public Art Division, as well as considering our own branding guidelines and creating a plan to ensure continuity and that there is no redundancy or unnecessary expense, and that whatever you choose will be something that the city will have for years to come and be proud of. GIS analyst Jennifer Marangos in IT is creating a really wonderful interactive map so you all can get a good look at both existing signs and future locations for possible signage. And the goal is to give you all information that you need about signage in the city in an easy to see format so that you can eventually give direction about the extent you want new signage or where you want signage left as is, improved or built. And this is on the agenda for November 4th, I'm sorry. Thank you.
All right.
I'm sorry. These are examples of signs in a nearby city that do show that continuity of branding and appearance. So you can see kind of what we're looking for and what we'll be presenting to you. Any questions?
All right, thank you so much, everybody. I think you are definitely on the right track, so thank you for that. I just want to point out a couple of things. Number one, when we're doing these art around the city, whether it's the boxes, I just want to make sure that there is some coherent theme to these designs, so it doesn't become like a hodgepodge of different things, but rather there's some sort of theme that goes along with a particular area. You want to have a consistent message. When it comes to beautification, again, you're on the right track. What I would like to see happen is we have some standards that we put in written language. What is it that we're trying to aim for, right? Because it sounds like we're doing good things here and there, but what is the ultimate vision for beautification? So those are the standards that I'm looking for. I don't know what that exactly will look like, but I just wanted to just repeat that. Something in writing that sets standards, okay? So we're gonna work towards those things, not just individual projects. So maybe it could be, for example, that as part of our beautification plan, that all medians that's physically able to do it will have canopy trees, just as an example, whatever that standard may be. But I just wanted to just reiterate those 2 points. So thank you, everybody. Anybody else on the dais have any questions or comments for staff?
I do have one question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Hay.
On the sidewalk cleaning, I believe you named some streets that were targeted. Was 10th Avenue one of those, MLK?
No, it was not.
I would like to see MLK from the I-95 Barton Cemetery all the way to Federal be amongst those that are cleaning the sidewalks. If you would add that street.
We'll do that with in-house staff.
Correct.
We'll do that right away with in-house staff. The bids already went out and came back in, so we'll go ahead and do that with in-house staff. And those sidewalks, actually, we just did that road project, so they're fairly new, but we'll go from Barton all the way out to Federal Highway.
Okay.
No problem.
Thank you. Okay. That's it, Mayor.
All right, thank you. If there's nothing else from my colleagues, I will continue with the agenda. We're going to move on to the very last item for tonight's meeting. 10C, discussion regarding RFP for speed detection camera system for school zones. Discuss and review updates related to the procurement of speed detection camera systems for school zones. Also discuss an alternative option of a contract amendment with ATS Vera to include a speed detection camera system for school zones and extend the existing contract. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Chief Joe DiGiulio. I'm here for you guys to answer any questions regarding the school zone speed cameras.
Could you give us an overview of where we're at today?
Currently, we are at a point where the RFP bids were all rejected. So we're back at square one, where we were back in April and May.
Are you seeking direction for us to rebid this item, or
Our two options are to go out and do another RFP.
Okay.
That will roughly put the project probably back to April by the time we go through the RFP process, and usually the 120 days for us to get the program up and running. As you all know, the goal here was to get the program up and running before the school year. We're already 6 weeks into the school year. So by the time we do an RFP, pick a vendor, and get the program up and running, we're looking at March, April, end of the school year. We missed a whole year. The other option is we can look for viable contracts that are currently out there that we can piggyback that meets the best interests of the city. Best case scenario is that we'll put the program up and running roughly around the end of December, beginning of January.
So we can either rebid, modify or amend the existing contract with ATS?
Correct.
Or the third option being that we can piggyback?
Correct.
Okay? All right, just want to make sure we frame it properly. Just out of curiosity, why were the previous ones rejected?
As far as from the RFP?
Yeah. Was there something that happened, or was it just the normal course of the evaluation?
I can speak to that.
Okay.
Yeah, as a part of the evaluation, when they did the scoring, there was a tie. And the software, there were some issues with the software that created the tie. So when it went out and then they dug deeper into it to look at the actual numbers, we actually saw a flipping of who was first and second. So this happened after we got a bid protest, and we looked into the numbers deeper, and then we actually saw that there were actually switched first and second place. So we felt like it was in the city's best interest to reject all bids at this point, because either scenario, we probably get a bid protest and end up challenged in court. So we went ahead and rejected it, hence why we're here tonight, to see, we have another opportunity at this point, what the commission would like to see us do. And that's basically where we're at.
All right, sounds, city manager?
Staff's recommendation on this, Mayor, is a cleaner process would either to do a piggyback or open up an additional contract with the city's vendors who already do the red light cameras. So that's what we're looking at. And every single week we delay with the infrastructure put in place, we're sacrificing public safety dollars that could be coming back to the city to the tune of close to $250,000 a week. That's the projections that we've had.
And wouldn't it also be cost-effective to piggyback?
Yes, sir.
Well, that would be my recommendation, moving forward, is to look for piggybacking on someone.
Commissioner Cruz?
Yep. So I do want to thank staff for working on an RFP and following that direction from the commission. For the future, I want to maybe have an internal conversation with staff and figure out, how come we had that issue with the RFP, but maybe other municipalities didn't have that same issue. So it looks like there's something that we could have maybe done differently with our internal process. Just a thought for the future. And, but yeah, I would be in favor of what Commissioner Hayes stated. Although I prefer an RFP, and we did do an RFP, for the sake of time and also for the safety of the kids and making sure that we do things proactively and on time, I would prefer to go with a route that is competitively procured, and that would need to be a piggyback as a plan B.
All right, anything else from my colleagues? Commissioner Turkin?
Yep, so reviewing the documentation I requested at the agenda workshop and the vendor fees compared to what the city would or wouldn't get, I think it's, the Vera Mobility, which I think is what the police department is recommending and staff's recommending to get this up and running. The infrastructure's there, I believe. Maybe there's a little bit of addition to the infrastructure. But, getting this up and running, for the kids is my priority. And in addition to doing what's best for the residents, and that's being fiscally responsible, with any contract. So I agree with Commissioner Hay. I'm okay to do that piggyback with Vera. So that's my position.
I don't think we discussed a company piggyback. I think we discussed the idea in general.
Right, correct.
I just want to make sure we had some clarity on that.
But wasn't it recommended that Vera be the piggyback because we already utilize them? I mean, from a practical standpoint, that would make more sense, right?
So there's a clarity
I mean, if
here.
there's a better price with a different vendor, let's do it. I'm just thinking, in the most common sense of execution, right, to getting this done. If the concern is we want to get this up and ready for the school year, we already are working with a company that knows our police department, that knows our city. Why would we not go with them unless there's a better price elsewhere on a piggyback?
Just to clarify terminology, there's an RFP, there's the piggyback, and then we have with Viera would be a contract amendment to their existing contract.
Okay.
So I don't remember how many vendors have RFPs or piggybackable contracts. Do you think, Chief? Maybe 1, 2, or 3?
I believe there's 3. There could be more, but yeah, I know
So
that.
I can tell you that, that we've looked at all those piggybacks and, fiscally and, that and the other vendors, the RFP, we've looked at the numbers. We already know what the numbers are. We already know what they're giving us. So I think, what you're hearing from staff is that they're recommending the contract amendment with Viera. That's what you're hearing here. Not go out with a new RFP or piggyback with a different vendor. We're asking that you move forward with a contract amendment to Viera Mobility.
Right, that's what, because if you look at the data, that's what makes the most sense. I mean, from a practical standpoint,
Gee, is that accurate?
As far as what?
As far as what Commissioner Turkin is saying, and
As far as staff recommends, yes, so there's three options, just so we're.
No, the revenue basis.
Yeah, as far as the revenue basis, the contract amendment with Vera would be in the best interest of the city.
So in that document that was emailed to all of us, it says at the very bottom of the page that the city and the police department is recommending the contract amendment with Vera as being the most viable option in respect to implementation, and then ensuring that those revenues are going to the city and that the vendor fees aren't being increased. And so my position, is if that's what my police department and my staff is recommending as the most financially suit and responsible for the taxpayers, and even more so important for implementation to get this thing on its way, that's where I stand. And that's, that's my responsibility. So that's where I'm at. I'm okay with Vera, I'm not a big fan of the red light cameras, right? But, I understand. And this is a completely different conversation. This is important.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I mean, we entertained the RFP option, and I didn't like it then, and now here we are. We went through this process, and we don't have we're still having this discussion. So, my position is that, similar to Commissioner Turkin, is that, we have an established relationship with a company that we've had for a long time, that has worked with the city. We have implemented software. It works with our system. It's all integrated. My fear with bringing in, it's reality, with bringing in any new system and any new company is that then we have an issue where we're getting new software, we're getting new training for staff, we're incurring costs that are completely unnecessary in implementing a program that, that can be up and running fairly quickly. So, so those are, my understanding is that, we have Flock already. Vera is using Flock, correct? It's all, it's a plug, we're all compatible, it all works. And so I don't see an issue or the need to seek another company when we have a company that is up and running. My understanding, though, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, I know that we're talking about a contract amendment, but they also they have a contract with Davie for their red light and their school cameras. So technically, I guess if we want to muddy it up a little bit, it's technically a piggyback on that new contract as opposed, because we're actually following the Davie contract, that's what they're utilizing, correct?
Davie is utilizing Vera Mobility for both red light camera and school zone.
Right, so we technically would be going to them or through them under a piggyback that they have. It is technically a piggyback contract, correct?
It's probably a better question towards procurement
Right.
as opposed to me, but there are options, whether it's a piggyback, whether it's an amendment, or like I said, which I don't necessarily support, was going through the RFP process again.
Right. No, I agree with that. I think that we have wasted enough time doing this RFP song and dance, so I'm done with that. So my position is I am comfortable going with Vera because I feel like they've been a solid company. We've worked with them for a very long time. They have implemented our red light cameras without any issue, and I feel like that would be a smoother transition than trying to bring in another company at this time. So that's my position.
Commissioner?
Yeah, I just
And
want to.
after you finish, Commissioner, I do see that there are applicants here. If there's no major objections, I'd like to hear them out as well.
Just wanted to make a quick comment. As we did discuss this before, and the reason why I asked for an RFP is because I wanted to make sure that we did the correct competitive procurement process. I would never be against competitive procurement. Ideally, an RFP would have worked out in a regular way where there wouldn't have been a tie. So again, I think that was more of an internal process issue, not the RFP process in itself, because many municipalities have had RFP processes and they have had different outcomes. So I just want to put it out there. And so I don't believe it's ever a waste of time to do competitive bidding. However, because we already did it, now we've crossed the line and now we're on the other side. I wanted to add disclosures because I thought we were going to do it during this time frame. So just for the record.
There's no, this is just a discussion item. We're not voting. So there's no need for disclosures, public hearing, or anything like that.
We're not voting?
No, it's just a discussion item to get a consensus on how to move forward.
But isn't that voting, like agreeing to a consensus?
No, we're just a consensus, not a vote.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's okay if I don't, because
Correct.
I did receive a bunch of emails, so I wanted to like, okay.
You don't have to. You're good.
Was that it? Okay. I'd like to hear from some of the applicants that are they're in the room. So you don't have to speak, but if you want to, I saw somebody already stood up, so. Yeah. Yeah.
Be very brief. I'm gonna.
Yeah, please
less
keep
than
it
a minute.
brief.
Good
I'll just
evening.
set a timer to be consistent and fair.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
How many applicants do we have in the room? So how many, 3?
So we just need a representative from each group, right? We don't need everybody, yeah.
All right, I think just to be fair, we should give everybody like a reasonable amount of time. It's not the same as public comment, 3 minutes, but it should be enough time for each applicant to provide their 2 cents of, their proposals. Thank you.
Since we're doing one representative per vendor, I'm gonna let my client speak.
Okay.
So thank you so much.
Let's
for the
keep it
opportunity.
brief, okay?
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission Manager. I will be brief. Appreciate your time as the hour is late, especially. I'm with Red Speed. We have the majority of customers in the country and in the state, more than all others combined. We respect all our competition. There's no way disparaging. We actually are Flock's preferred vendor of choice, if you call them and ask them. There's been 4 RFPs in the state. We've won 3 handedly, and then 1 was the Vera's customer who already had red light. But as far as some of the issues, and we understand them all, we have been selected just in the short time the law's been in place for 7, I believe, Vera red light customers to go with our best of breed school zone speed customer and operate programs. The most recent RFP in the state is Plantation, which was designed to be piggybacked. And there's been 6 jurisdictions piggyback already off that. And I do believe, and I don't know your procurement code, I'm not an attorney, but I recall this contract wasn't bid the first time, the red light. So there's a lot of machination on the contracting mechanism, I think, compared to an RFP or a piggyback off a competitively bid RFP. Because actually the Davy was not, the speed was not competitively bid either, it was added on. So you kind of get into the mother parent of the piggybacking concept. So I will be brief, Mayor, as you ask, but we think we offer a lot of technology that others don't. The market has spoken to that as we've been selected the majority of the times. And we'd love the opportunity to make a presentation to you or your staff, or appreciate your consideration this evening.
All right, thank you. Next applicant.
Can he state his name for the record?
Oh, sir, if you could come back to the podium and state your name for the record.
Again, apologies. Greg Parks, Red Speed, for the record. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mayor, if I may, Adam
Yes.
Temple, Assistant City Manager. So I just conferred with staff, and I just want the commission to know that, we did not invite vendors to here, so there may be vendors that, that did apply that are not here to make their presentations to council as well.
Okay, thank you for letting us know.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Stephen Abrams, representing Altamont, which you'll hear from in a second. But make no mistake, I mean, a comparative process did take place. Altamont was ranked #1, and in the email that I sent you, the selection committee was unanimous and enthusiastic about their choice for Altamont based on effectiveness, efficiency, a number of other factors. Going in the direction you're going has some problems. First of all, as I pointed out in the legal memo that we sent you, I don't know that you can extend an existing contract for services that were not contemplated in the original contract. Second, just as a policy perspective, which you've discussed, the commissioners looked at the option to amend the contract back in May and determined that for good reason, as a new program, unique nature of the new program, that they prefer the RFP. You did do the RFP, and we all agree that repeating it would take too long. You do have an option in your procurement code to, when you don't come to agreement with a vendor, to then enter into a negotiation with another firm. I would submit that Ultimate would be that firm as the #1 unanimous choice of your selection committee. There are also issues with the Davy contract, as were pointed out, and I'm going to call up Jason Norton from Ultimate, who's their senior vice president, to expand further on that.
Good evening. Just to think about, if you go off the Davy contract and if you read the fine print, some of the stuff in there is that, #1, their RFP pricing was 10% higher than ours. But if you look at the Davy contract and you read the words inside there, there are contractual dictations that would require the price to go up if the police doesn't review or approve 90% of the events that's sent to them. If you don't go to collections, if you don't install a registration hold, they have the right to increase their pricing. There's also aspects in there about them keeping the metadata from their program. That's also, they get to keep the metadata from their ALPR program. I don't think the police, I don't think your citizens want a vendor owning that information. So there are caveats in those contracts that you need to read before you jump. And if you're looking for speed and to get your program operating, Vera signed that contract on January 4th, 2024, and they still do not have a program. You're 10 months in. In addition, if you want to terminate the contract under the Davy program, it's $37,000 per camera. That's
right.
a lot of money left, and there's no
Thank
soda
you.
and chips left
All
after
right,
that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Last call, otherwise we'll move on. Oh, one more and that's it. And Maylee, did they state their name for the record? Okay, all right.
Gary Goebel with Vera Mobility. I'm not a vice president, I'm account executive. Passing through, thought I'd stop at the meeting to listen to what you're talking about. Sometimes it's best not to say anything at all. We've been your vendor for quite some time now. I think we would love to continue to be your vendor and service you as we have in the past. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, questions from my colleagues or comments?
I have a quick
And then
question. I heard
let's give
something
direction, yes.
interesting from the previous speaker. They talked about contract termination clauses and how it would cost $37,000. Do we have information on all the potential applicants on how much it would cost for cancellation?
What we would have to do is, and again, we're looking at piggybacking. So until we have, or if not piggybacking, the contract amendment. So we have to look at that in detail. And Stacy, being the contract review specialist, would go through those, make sure it has the proper legal terms. And then if there are any of those items, as our office does, we provide you a memo, which indicates, hey, these are kind of the red flags, and you can choose to, sometimes it's a business decision with regard to whether you accept risk in certain contracts or you don't. So until we know kind of the direction that staff wants to go, we won't make that legal review, and we won't be able to really advise them until they come up with business terms and what they're looking for.
Yeah, just want to make sure that whoever we end up choosing ultimately is not, there isn't an opportunity for the pricing to be increased on the city for whoever it is.
Yeah, those are just terms that we have to look at once we get a little further down into the nitty gritty. And here at the stage we're at now, again, we have not, I believe, made any decisions without direction of the commission with regard to which way to go.
And council, to be clear, if we're going to go through the piggyback process, you will inform us of those terms after your analysis, is that correct?
Yes, you would absolutely have to approve any contract and any business terms that may not be, on its face, might have pause, and then, it's up to the commission to determine whether they're willing to take that risk in that contract.
And last question, if I may. Are we saying that there are two potential piggyback opportunities? And then I heard earlier, I want to make sure I heard correctly. Is it true that the Davy contract was not competitively procured, or is that incorrect?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know any of those details. That's really a procurement question. And, my office doesn't get involved until we're further down in the process. Because all of those things come from procurement.
Right. My concern is that, again, we're moving forward with a consensus, which is a decision. We should have those answers before we make a decision. So if we're looking at potentially piggybacking, if there is such a thing as a piggyback from Davy, then we should know if that contract was competitively procured, because that was kind of the purpose why I wanted to have an RFP in the first place.
Well, I think what staff is looking at right now is not necessarily a piggyback, but a contract amendment, which is not a piggyback.
Enter in negotiations.
Sure. Good evening, Stacy Weingrow, Deputy City Attorney. So again, before you, I think there's a couple options, and within those options, there's additional options. So I think we're looking for a little bit of direction of, do you want to go back out for another RFP, or do you want staff to explore the other options that are available to the city? I think that's the broader.
Correct.
That's what we're looking for tonight. At which point, if the direction is we want to go back out to RFP, we go back out to RFP. If the direction is please explore other options and bring those back to us with an analysis of the method of procurement, the pricing components, high-level term overviews that I do for you in my disclosure memos, that's how we can proceed. So I think that's more of the decision we're looking at right now.
Stacy, thank you for that clarification. I'm just going to make it known, I support the recommendation of having staff do further analysis and come back to us with those terms. More analysis can't be a bad thing. And I want to make sure it's vetted through not just procurement and finance, but also through legal. That is my preference.
Just to be clear.
Go ahead, Commissioner, and we'll go around.
Would that metadata be public information, or would it just come back to us? What you're going to tell us about?
About what each contract offers?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that at this point, if the direction of the board is to evaluate what contract options exist, whether it is through an amendment to our contract and the potential to do that versus what piggyback options exist, then a summary of all of those options should come back to the board collectively for review and further direction and discussion.
Sounds good. Commissioner Turkin, you had your hand up. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I think we just want to look at other options and negotiate, right? That's the key here. We all want to implement when we can and get the best deal for the city. I'm not going to listen to anything unless I see it in the contract. This stuff with Davy and the metadata, that's great and may be true, but I cannot make a decision or even entertain that opinion of something without looking at it and seeing a contract. So I'd like to look at options, and if it's negotiating with Vera, considering all these concerns I've heard, let's do that, or maybe there's different options. So that's where I'm at.
I just want to echo the sentiments of the mayor and the body. What staff's looking for tonight is just the removal of the RFP process so we can go forward and actually get you guys the information and the analysis that you're all looking for.
Right.
And I think that's the primary consensus that we're looking
Yes.
at doing and moving forward, so.
Yes.
Like you have it.
All right.
But I want to ask for a few specific
All right,
things.
let's
Just
final
real quick.
comments.
Yep. So one thing, like one of the questions that I want to ask in your analysis is, was this competitively procured? Because that's one of the top important things for me. The second question I want to ask is, what happens to the data? Like, is it our police department that's maintaining that data? Is it an outside company? I wasn't aware of that. I'm not an expert in that field, but that concern that was brought to our attention, I think as Commissioner Hayes stated, is relevant and it's important to the residents of the city.
Exactly.
And then what makes them different? Like if we have 5, 6 vendors that all want the contract, what makes you different? Why should we give it to you? That's it, and then we'll come back to it.
All right, sounds good. It sounds like we have consensus here on bringing back more analysis to the commission. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you to the chief and deputy city attorney for your input. With that, if there's no final comments, we have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, we have a motion, a second. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody.